What's up, everybody? We are back with another Code X top 10 list. Top 10 favorite Marvel characters. These are not the top 10 most popular Marvel characters. These are our personal top 10 favorite Marvel characters. And I don't know about you guys. For me, it was hard to narrow down like the last couple of spots on this list. I had characters I had in there and then dropped out for other characters, and at least for me, the criteria of it was, not necessarily characters who have ongoing series, but just characters that I found the most interesting that I'm always willing to buy their books. But before we get into that and everyone else's criteria, I am your host, Dan. As always, we got Chris right here, seeing how long he'll be here. Right underneath, we got the Ric Flair of comics, Uncle Gary.
That guy.
And super, super special guest making a return to this channel, Tone Super. Thank you for coming back.
Sci-fi swordsman.
It's been too long.
Love it.
Nice to see you all. Nice to be back.
And Tone, you're a vet too, right?
Oh yeah.
That fella above you is also vet, combat vet too.
Army, yeah. Army infantry.
Oh, and much more intense career than me. I went to Europe for 6 years and drank and fight, and then got out.
That sounds like combat, Tone. If you were drinking,
that's combat. That's what we did.
So
they gave us live rounds.
They said, we want a more professional force. We don't think you're going to fit in here, right?
You're gonna say hi to everyone in the chat. Booge, Tone, Mobius, thank you for joining us. We want to see all of your character picks.
Is Richard here?
Along as we're going.
Yeah, there he is.
Wow.
They're not, man. It's both of them are me.
Yeah, well, it's what you said last night, right? Like when you're on chat, you can always just say, "Oh, that wasn't me. Somebody hacked you."
I can always say someone hacked me. Here, I mean, I'm right here.
I asked.
What's up, Mr. Keith?
Hey, Mr. Keith. I asked Chris yesterday. I said, "It's just you and Sonny." He goes, "Oh no, Dan's there. They wouldn't let me alone with Sonny."
Well, thank you guys all for coming on. I get excited to do all the shows we're on, but the top 10 lists are the most exciting for me because
you're a baby.
I don't have to do any research. All I could do is just sit there and make my list and
check it twice,
prepare to defend it. But yeah, at least for me, for making, like I said, making my list, it was characters. I kind of looked at it as, who are characters that if they ever get a series that I'm going to make sure to buy it regardless of who the creators are, or who are characters that I'll, that I hope to see more, take a more prominent role, ones that I find super, super interesting. So what about you? What about you, Tone? I know that you told me, when you sent me your list that it wasn't necessarily, characters that have the best stories, but it's the characters themselves.
Oh yeah, I really wrestled with this. The moment you said top 10, I got excited, right? And because you think off the cuff, got to be a clean shot, right? And then the top 10 comics I buy or have bought doesn't necessarily mean my top 10 favorite characters, which leads me into writing, right? The top 10 best written comics, right, don't necessarily mean they're the characters I'm the most passionate about. And a great example of that is, I think if you were looking at consistency of writing in Marvel for the past 10 years, Daredevil's been on fire, Thor's been on fire, Doctor Strange has been on fire. But then I read them and I look forward to reading them every month, but they're not the characters I'm most passionate about, right? And the characters I've found I'm most passionate about, some of them are very well developed, some of them not very developed at all. And so some of them have a stretch. I'll give a great kind of somebody that didn't make my list was Iron Fist, because I love the character concept. I don't think it's quite ever truly delivered, except for the Immortal Iron Fist. The Immortal Iron Fist makes him one of my favorite. But then after that, I'm like, So like I said, a lot of arm wrestling with myself to get to it. But in the end, I settled on it. Didn't make a difference how many appearances they had. It didn't make a difference how much they sold or how often the story is told. It's just characters that when they show up, I make sure I buy that book. Right.
Tone, last week we did an Iron Fist episode for comic character of the week, and Immortal Iron Fist was on everybody's list. Oh, yeah. And I didn't have much love for the character, and then I read that and I was like, oh my God, this is great. So you're on point with that. That book was phenomenal.
Now, quick story here. Cal Car Andrews reached out to me on Twitter. Car Andrews. He did a follow-on to Immortal Iron Fist.
He did the miniseries after that.
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember the actual name of it. But I did a review of it back then.
Iron Fist, the Living Weapon.
There we go. And I did a review of it. I loved it. I thought it was a different art style. I didn't like some of the decisions he made within the Immortal Iron Fist structure, right? But I thought it was amazing when I found out he was the writer and the artist, right? Wow. And I loved the spirit of the book. And so I put out a review back then on Twitter. And a couple of days later, I get this, thanks, Car. And that was the Twitter handle. I'm like, Car. I'm too busy. I'll deal with it later. And like 3 or 4 days later, I'm looking at it like, wait a minute. And it was him. And I reached out and we had a great dialogue back and forth. And he was really engaging and approachable, right?
Nice.
But yeah.
Fantastic.
But not to derail us, not trying to do that in the end.
Well, I'll say this about Iron Fist too. Check out, I think it's volume 5. It's the one that came out in 2017. The first story arc. It's Danny, where he's kind of lost his connection to the chi of Shao Lao, and he's going around the world just fighting all the best fighters he can find, and he's just waxing them, like beating them with no effort. And then this mysterious guy comes and says, hey, come to this mysterious island that no one's ever heard of and it's not on any maps, and compete in this, kung fu championship kind of thing, and you can get your chi back. And it has it ends up showing how they have ties to Kunlun, but it's really cool. They put him in this really cool, like black and yellow Bruce Lee kind of tracksuit. Ed Brisson wrote it. Mike Perkins did some really great art on it. Go check out the first arc of that. It's super cool.
Absolutely. Well, that's teasing a brain cell. I think I started that and then fell off of it, right? But no, definitely a great pull there. Reach back, but ultimately, there are a lot of characters that could have made this list, right? They had iterations of them that I loved, but in the end, I think I distilled it down to the ones I get the most excited whenever they make an appearance, or I have the most hope for, and I make sure I pick it up. That's what I landed on.
Yeah. What about you, Gary?
Good criteria. Well, again, like you said, this isn't, the best Marvel characters or the most important Marvel characters, because that would be an entirely different list, the most important. And my DC list, because I'm more of a DC guy, was a harder list for me, but this was still tough. I still got a litany of people I couldn't put down. And then I cut all villains. I didn't put any villains on, even though there's certainly villains that would make the top 10 most important character list for me. I didn't put any female characters on. No female characters made it, so I felt bad about that. But and same thing with the DC list. So, it's just on the list of cuts there were quite a few, and then there were important. I had important characters that were also socially important. Like the Black Panther and the Falcon, and Gabriel Jones and Howling Commandos, who was the first African American recurring character that Marvel ever used. So there are important characters like that. Socially, I didn't put on. I just put it on the characters that when I see them, I'm like, oh man, I love these characters, and they mean the most to me. So kind of like Tone, I had to do the ones that just whenever there's a book by them, I've got to pick it up no matter what. So that's where.
Hey, what's up, Liz?
Hey, Liz. I know, second week in a row, didn't have any DC women either. Liz,
I'll say this too. I had Iron Fist was on my list up until literally about 5 minutes before I sent the link to all you guys, and I was debating on him and another character. And Nightcrawler was on my list, up until yesterday, and I was like, oh, what about this character? And then there's other characters like I really wanted to put on, like Black Knight and and Black Panther and there's a few others, and it was just it's hard narrowing it down to 10.
Well, that's one reason why I kicked the villains to the curb, so I didn't have to deal with them, right? So, I mean, I didn't even have to think about that. So, I actually like D-Man. I'm a fan of Dennis.
D-Man.
Dennis Dumpy. Was it Dumpy?
Yeah.
I saw a comment from I think it was Handle Mobius in there. You said Ben Grimm and Moon Knight. They both were like last second cuts off of my list. Characters.
One of those will be on my list. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So you hit me in my feels when I saw that, because they
like picking your favorant kids, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
that's easy for me.
Yeah.
Well, I can say, Chris, you wanna let us know your criteria for your pick?
Well, other than Aunt May,
he picked the ones that owe him $5.
That's everything.
Other than Aunt May, who's just a fetish of mine, they were, it's the same thing. Whoever I'm excited about reading about, if I see a book and there's a character in it that I haven't seen in a long time that I like, or, guys I grew up reading. You guys know I grew up in Trailer Park, didn't have a lot of money. Most of the comics I got were those collected books from the library. So, they influenced a lot of my reading growing up, and they became some of my favorite characters. So a lot of those guys are on this list.
Yeah, and I had 2 villains on my DC list, but
I have no villains, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I had one on my DC list.
Well, see, that just means we're just going to have to do top 10 villains list for Marvel and for DC. And then we can get our groove on.
Got some great villains.
Great.
Marvel,
I mean, listen, I didn't even have
villain,
Joker on my DC list. I mean, Joker's probably the greatest villain ever. And I didn't even put him on my list because I just made the unilateral decision that no villains. Yeah.
Like I said, I really like Black Knight, and I almost put him on my list, especially because he has really good interactions with another character that's on my list. But it's like, man, you just gotta make some cuts. And like I said, Nightcrawler was on there till about yesterday, and it's hard. It's hard narrowing it down to 10. And I'll say this too, for me and probably for these guys, what our top 10 list now is, if we did this show again in about a month, you probably would see 1 to 2 changes on the list, because the list I originally made was a show that it did a couple months ago with Jamie that ended up not getting put up. And my list was mostly the same, but some characters got moved up, some got moved down, a couple got replaced. That's just how it is.
Yeah, that tends to happen with me too. It fluctuates. Some of my favorite characters fluctuate from month to month. But I mean, they're all in that mix, If they fall off the list, they're right under. They're like 11, 12, 13.
And I like having these lists too, where we don't have to have the most popular characters. So I have some characters that aren't in the most popular, that are a little bit off the beaten path, and I love that.
All of us do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say. And
you chose Betty Bryant, didn't you, Uncle Gary?
What'd you say?
Betty Bryant. You chose her, right? Ned
Betty-
Leeds.
No, I did not. I chose Mary Jane Parker's aunt.
What was her name?
Anna.
That's yes.
Anna Watson.
Aunt Anna.
Well, I could tell you that Gary does have Paste Pot Pete at number 3 on his list.
Taste Pot
but I
Pete is the best name ever.
I went with the upgraded name. I went with the Trapster.
All right, so let's go ahead and not keep people waiting. We're going to go ahead and jump in. The way we're going to do it is the way we did it last time. We're going to start at no honorable mentions this time.
No Doiby Dickles.
So we're going to start at number 10 for everyone. Then each of us will take a minute or two, say why we picked that character, and then we'll go around. And then after we got 10s done, then we'll go to 9 and 8 and count up to number 1. So the first one we're going to put up is, I guess we'll call this one an honorable mention. Sal told me, since he's not going to be on tonight, you got to make sure you put this character up. Anybody that's watched an episode or 2 of this with Sal knows who it's going to come up with. And there we go.
So, but when you think about that, that really is 10 characters in one. That's Venom, that's Carnage, that's Anti-Venom, that's Joe Mama Venom, that's that's your Anti-Venom, who's not just ANTI, but AUNTIE, Anti-Venom,
Those
Grandma
teeth right
Venom.
there,
Yeah.
those teeth right there, definite penis repellent.
There you go. There you go. So that's 10 characters in one right there through the symbiote. So Sal got
absolutely.
All right, hold on a second. What's up?
So and
oh, sorry, my daughter wants me to let everybody know that she lost a tooth, that she lost another baby tooth.
Oh man, it's payday.
Did not know she was there. I wouldn't have been speaking that way.
That's a payday. Woohoo!
That's money.
Yeah. See, Richard had it right. Yeah.
Yep. Pacepot Pete is absolutely a Stan Lee name.
Sure it is.
You don't. That is Stan at his best.
I wonder if it was Roy Thomas that said, "No, we got to call him something else," and came up with Trapster.
You know, it was Roy Thomas. He's like, I can't.
We can't do that.
So, Sal, too, is such a Venom fan. They have something going on at one of the conventions right now, or getting ready to happen, where they have the entire creative team from Venom Lethal Protector there. And CGC has a thing where you could send them a book and they'll get them all signed. So he's sending them. He has his slabbed copy of Venom Lethal Protector 1, and then he's got another copy that he's sending to get signed, and it's getting signed by David Michelini and Mark Bagley and the inker and the colorist and the letterer and the editor and everybody, and then getting it slabbed. All right, good night.
That is really cool.
It is. CGC is propping up the U.S. economy right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they are.
All right, so excuse me. So we got Sal's lone pick out of the way, so we are going to start with Tone's first pick.
Okay.
Which is?
We will jump in at number 10 for me, Roberto Da Costa, Sunspot.
Ooh, like it.
Sunspot.
I do too.
And I am a New Mutants generation kid.
Amen. Me too.
Right, hit right when I needed it. It was a book I know that was targeted at me. The relationship with Sam and Berto, I fell in love with. And and as sad as it sounds, the rest of the New Mutants kind of fell to the wayside with Sam and Berto in that space. I always wanted Berto's growth, and needless to say, later on in the New Mutants to kind of pull back. The book got canceled. They move into X-Force. Berto's not there. Eventually, they bring him back with Cable. They expand his powers, right? And so I just really, really love the Roberto character. Some of the modern things, I love the fact that Marvel's been trying to push him the past few years because I have such love for the character. I have such love for the power, the way it looks. And the genius CEO kind of rubs me a little bit Tony Stark light, right? But I love the fact that they're trying to do something with him in a modern sense because there's such potential in the character. So Sunspot makes my number 10.
I like that they use him. I love the character. I like that they use him more as a CEO, not so much a brilliant strategist, but like a businessman CEO, like a great businessman, a great manipulator of people and his corporation. And he ran an Avengers team for a while there recently. So, and I mirror that view. You might see some Sam Guthrie later on. I'm just saying, I mirror that view. And if we were at one point we will do the greatest friendships. We'll do a top 10 buddies.
Yeah.
And Sam and
when we do that, you and Chris have to wear your matching shirts.
That won't happen. But
we are buddies.
No.
What about those bras we bought?
I ain't doing no twinsy stuff with you, buddy. So, but
I got a Spider-Man when he got a Hulk one.
Great friendships in comics is Sam and Berto. So love it.
All right,
Tone, I agree with you. I grew up reading New Mutants. It hit when I was in high school. I think I was a freshman when it hit the scene, and it really hit at a time that I needed something like that. I think they were really onto something. And it really spoke to a lot of teen angst, a lot of we all feel alienated, especially in high school, especially as comic geeks.
Yep.
And it really helped. And, we went to high school when nerds got beat up for reading comics.
Well, that all the time. Like I
Yeah.
feel I see the comic community nowadays, and how, and most importantly, in a modern sense, how the MCU has really pushed comics into the mainstream and acceptance of comic characters into the mainstream. I feel like like almost a Vandal Savage character that's
with you, Rick.
and grow, right? Because back when I was growing up, geeks got beat up, nerds got beat up, right? The trash cans, the lockers, the things that today's kid would look at the things they see in 80s movies and think it's movies versus life, right?
Yeah.
So an Iron Man shirt back then, or a Hulk shirt back then could get you beat up. And so, but I digress. I'll talk.
I've told this story on here before. My problem was I loved the comics and I read them too, but I was a pretty big dude, played ball and all that. And when I'd go in the comic store, I'd get shunned a little bit because I looked like the people that tormented the folks in the comic store. So I would get, and actually at school, I would defend my buddies that were nerds, and anybody on the team knew they couldn't mess with my friends or they had to go through me. So, but I'd go into the comic store and I'd get reverse shunned.
Where were you?
I looked like their tormentors. Yeah.
Where were you when I was going to school, man?
I'd have had your back, buddy. I'd have had your back. You'd have had no worries. You'd have walked around like some of my friends causing trouble, knowing I was going to bail you out.
I wouldn't have had to stab anyone in the chest with a pencil.
Yeah, that's where I'd had a problem with you. I'd had to say, Chris, one of these days, I'm not going to be there.
No, one of these days I won't be there.
Yeah, I'm not going to be there because you keep screwing around. Yeah.
But definitely my number 10, hands down, Roberto. I love the relationship. I'll be back here. I definitely want to participate in the Best Friends in Comics if that comes up. But
you got
we got him for that.
You want to come on?
Yeah, but
that's right. You don't have to have a special show. You just say I want to appear, man.
Yeah.
And that Avengers,
old school cred. You're like in the founding block of this station, buddy.
Oh, thank you. And for the record, that Roberto, that where he led the Avengers, that Avengers book, was it
U.S. Avengers?
Yeah, U.S. Avengers, Uncanny Avengers, whichever one it was. I was not collecting comics at that immediate time, and I saw online that Berto was leading a book, and but this got to stop, and I went right into the comic shop and started.
Nice.
I was not going to be in a book and me not pick it up. So
good man.
All right, well, we're going to go ahead with Chris's number 10 pick. You all ready?
Yes, sir. My number 10 is...
Come on, get Doiby Dickles off of there. Hate that sumbit. Oh, that's the thing between me and Chris. I'll have to tell you.
That was my idea to do. That wasn't Chris's. I told him right before he came on. I'm like, look, man, I'm gonna put this up for your number 10 just to mess with him, and then we'll put up your real number 10.
Listen, I needed Golden Age Green Lantern. I needed a Golden Age Green Lantern All-American and a Golden Age Green Lantern book. And most of them are ruined by that asshat Doiby Dickles on the cover.
Why are you pointing at me?
Yeah, and Chris thinks it's funny to put Doiby Dickles in.
Because it is. It is.
Now that I think about it, it would have been funnier if I would have said, now here's Gary's number 10 pick. And then all right, well, here's Chris's real number 10 pick.
It is Star God.
Oh, wow, that's off the beaten path.
Yeah.
I just have always loved his design. I don't think Marvel's done enough with him. But, I mean, you don't look any cooler than that. Look at that.
Yeah,
I mean, just look at that.
And was that a version of Manwolf? It was, right? Yep.
It was Manwolf, yes.
Yeah.
That's Jameson's son.
Yep.
Yeah.
John, was it John?
Yeah,
John Jameson. Yeah, they could have done I think they could have done a lot more with this character, and I wish to see him in something where he's in some Savage Land adventure,
That's
where
right.
he's
Perez was doing that book. Perez drew that book for a while. Yep. Yeah.
That's gorgeous, isn't it? And that's a cool outfit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only reason.
You digging the outfit?
He's got a great character design. He does have roots to some of the main Marvel characters.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's a waste if they're not using him.
I feel like you probably have that costume in your closet.
I do.
Hmm.
I do. I wear it when I go dancing.
All right, we're going to go with Gary's number 10 pick now.
All right. So this one comes with a little bit of caveat. So that's the Beast. But
Harry Ball's Beast.
This is from my buddy Sal. What does it say on that cover? Anyway, an Avenger is coming through.
Yeah, Boosh.
An Avenger. So when I first started reading the Avengers, the Beast was an Avenger. So for me, Beast is always an Avenger. And of course, Sal, when he started reading, Beast was, with the X-Men or with X Factor. Now, I know he started, and the thing I want to say about this, at the Beast, this was his first induction, his adventure with the Avengers, 137. When he left the team at Avengers 209. When he left the team at that point in Marvel history, the Beast had been an Avenger much more issues than he had ever been an X-Men, because he was an X-Men for the first 66 issues of X-Men, and then it went to reprints. So by this point, he was an Avenger in more issues than he was ever an X-Men. So for me, thank you, Richard, the Beast is an Avenger. Now, just for other terms, okay, sure, it's far surpassed his time with the X-Men now, but with the X-Men, Beast is a sad, miserable sucker. He's awful. With the X-Men, he has no joy. He has no fun. The greatest thing he did was found a cure for the legacy virus. And how did he do that? Oh, yeah, it had to kill Colossus to work. So, that was his, that's how that worked. So he had to kill one of his best friends to make, for the legacy virus to work. So everything about, and he's half evil, he's morally compromised now. So when he was an Avenger, he was happy. He was bouncing around the mansion. He was dripping wet fur all over the mansion, and Jarvis would clean it up and serve him sandwiches. And
he was happy as hell.
Happy as hell. And most important, that's right, Richard. He had a three-way with 3 chicks and missed Avengers meetings for a whole weekend, showed up 3 days later because he'd had a 3-way all weekend long. Beast was getting his blue fur laid on a regular. When he's with the X-Men, it's not just his testicles that are blue. I mean, it's his attitude and everything else. Here, it's just the fur that's blue. He was having fun, getting laid, partying, the happy-go-lucky party guy of New York. And when we talk about best buddies, he had the greatest, what I'm going to say is the greatest friendship. Him and Wonder Man. Now that's a great friendship.
They're
great friendship.
They're ride or die. They will always be friends.
Simon and Hank, two Avengers. So Beast is an X-Man, miserable, sad sack of blue fur. As an Avenger, the Beast is the happening party dude in Manhattan. Beast is an Avenger, and as number 10, as an Avenger, baby.
I used to love reading about him with Perez's art.
Yes.
Just bouncing around the mansion, just driving old Jarvis nuts.
And Cap and Wanda. And I love how Perez drew him kind of like a gorilla.
Yeah.
Kind of like a furry blue gorilla, which I like much better than the cat mutation.
And he shed.
And he shed. So the Beast, but it's the Beast as an Avenger.
Yeah.
That's my top 10.
Beast, for me, not only do I have great love for the character, but I get frustrated because I feel like he's been one of the most character assassinated Marvel characters in the past 20 years. And I didn't understand it. They've character assassinated Xavier. They've character assassinated Colossus. But with Beast, you literally introduced a dark Beast so you could tell darker stories if you wanted to.
Yes.
They continue to character assassinate Hank. I love classic Hank. And it's interesting you draw the line between his time at the Avengers. I had never really consciously thought about that. His Avengers writing actually made me love him more than his X writing, and that's a great pull.
He was a lot happier. He was a lot more relaxed. He was more fun to read.
Well,
he wasn't full of angst.
And they would even say, the Beast would say on the Avengers, thank you, brother. Thank you, Bush. On the Avengers, he said, I don't have to be the strong man of the team. I'm not even close. I don't have to be the scientist of the team. I've got these great minds around me. He can be himself, and he can, and what he was kind of a heart and soul to the team, right? He was, he was that emotional lift for everybody. He was the guy you want to have on your team that's always lifting up all your teammates, and that's what he was. He was
my stars and garters.
Yes, he was a joy. He was a joy. And one thing that was really interesting in one of the last X-Force incarnations, where, like Tone said, you had a dark beast. What the hell you got to make Hank McCoy dark for? You have a dark beast.
Yeah.
Why do we have two of them?
You literally have an evil character that is the same guy.
Yes, absolutely. And character assassination is right. But it was really interesting where they explored why the beast, he had been reborn through Krakoa's machinations, and the beast that had been reborn didn't understand why everybody hated what the beast had become. And he talked to Simon about it, and he goes, why didn't you save me? Why didn't you bring me out of this? And Simon says, I tried. You didn't want to talk to me. You didn't want to have anything to do with me. And I thought that was so sad, but at least they addressed it a little bit, that that the beast that even turned his back on where Simon couldn't even get to him. So hopefully maybe we'll get a new era, maybe with this Wonder Man, having a Disney show, and there's going to be a new Wonder Man series. So hopefully, maybe we can explore that friendship again. And there've been a couple times where they have taken the Beast and put him in a Wonder Man book, and he's the Beast of old that we remember, and he's joking and he's having a good time. Why the hell can't we write that Beast? Why do we have to write this pitiful shell of what was a great character, had so much heart and empathy, and now he's just Dark Beast too, so much. So that's my pitch. That's my spiel. Beast is an Avenger, baby.
Amen.
Well, with my number 10 pick, I am going to take it back to the X-Men universe, and that is with the first female character that's making the list tonight, Mystique.
Ooh.
Oh, there we go.
Now, that Brian K. Vaughan run was not long, but it was amazing. But she's such a cool character. Right. I like that she has a mysterious background that we still don't know exactly what it is, and I hope that they keep it that way. I personally think that's how they ruined Wolverine, was by giving a definitive origin for him. The stuff where we knew the Weapon X stuff, and he would have like the little memories that would pop up here and there, and some of them would be true, and then some of them would be false. I thought he worked better that way. I hope with Mystique, that they keep the mystique around her. The cool powers where she could be in books and you never even know until a year or two later.
Yeah.
And character wise, she's always on her side. You never really know, even if she says she's on your side, you never really know if she is. Like, the only one she's really loyal to is really Destiny. Because even though Nightcrawler is her kid and Rogue is her adopted kid, and she has great love for them and will go out of her way to help them, she's also kind of screwed them over sometimes too. The only one that she ever really, that she ever really never does anything negative to is Destiny. But you always see her straddle that line between not even hero, between like anti-hero, villain. She'll do whatever it takes to survive. And whenever she has gotten a chance to have her own series, they've always been pretty interesting.
A great character. Can you imagine having a gal that take any shape you want? You never get bored. You never get bored of that.
Yeah.
And I think it's, there was some criticism within the past couple years when they revealed that she is Nightcrawler's father, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it makes perfect sense. If she can shapeshift and be a perfect duplicate, why couldn't she be his father if she's shapeshifted into a male character? So absolutely, I think it's brilliant. I thought it was a brilliant and
it was something that Claremont came up with a long time ago, and because of the time he was writing X-Men, it wasn't a time where he could do a story like that. He couldn't even have him, or couldn't even have her and Destiny, be in an open relationship and be openly gay. He couldn't do that at the time, but when they were able to, they absolutely did it. And you go back and look at those stories now, and you go, "Oh yeah, okay."
Subtext.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, it's very easy to forget in a modern sense the Comics Code Authority, right? And like, how many generations of Americans lived in a time when comics were considered deviant and perversive to children, right? Hence the whole seduction of the innocent. And so when the Comics Code Authority come in, all the things you can't put in the comics anymore, and that was with us through the 80s until the industry moved away from it, right? And so when you look at what was written in the 70s, there you go, right there. Exactly, right? And so when
that's the first print too.
Wow. Look,
I've got one too. I've got a first print too.
Classic guy. And so with this, the comic writers today, which have they're free to write whatever they feel like. Those writers back in the 70s, the 80s, the 60s weren't free to write everything. Now we could clearly see in the 80s, the writers begin to push the envelope. A lot of things changed in American society. Retrospectively, I don't think today's young readers can really truly appreciate how conservative American society was coming out of the 70s. I'm a victim of satanic panic when I wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons. Devil worshiping, right? And I just say that to say that the drama surrounding North Star being Marvel's first gay character.
Yep.
And I remember that outcry, that frustration, that anger towards that. I remember the Congress talking about it, right? And so to introduce a character that can shapeshift when the society broadly hasn't even conceptually dealt with trans, right? Chris Claremont said, I want this book in publication, right? I don't need any more drama. And so now we have people that come along and flesh it out. And if I can throw just something in there for a second on that particular point, I'm not going to sit here and say all the changes that I've seen across the past 15 years or adjustments or fleshing out of characters is always easy to ingest, right? I didn't get the friction around this one because it made sense.
Yes.
Yeah. It made perfect sense. Like there should be nothing surprise. That makes perfect sense,
Well, I mean, how many of us weren't surprised when North Star came out?
Right, the way they had written them, absolutely.
Yeah,
exactly. And so, I didn't get the frustration around Mystique proper in that context. It made sense for the character.
Yeah,
right. And Tone, you're right. It's all about subtext, and the same thing works. Watch old films from the 30s and the 40s. You could pick up on subtext there too that they couldn't because of the Hays Code, that you couldn't come out and say or do openly. But you look behind the scene. But when you look at it with our modern eye, you say you
Have you guys even watched Dracula's Daughter from the 30s, from the 40s?
I haven't seen it.
It's the sequel to Dracula.
Okay.
She's definitely a lesbian. I mean, it's all through the movie, she's trying to bite this other girl and bring her under her, her spell. It's not spelled out explicitly, but it's pretty glaring.
Well, we don't know how old Mystique is. That could have been Mystique there.
There you go.
It could have been.
It's funny the way she was created. She was just a doodle, or not a doodle. She was just a drawing that Dave Cockrum did of just random sexy lady looking thing. And Chris Claremont saw it and was like, "Hey, can I use that? Can I use that for this Marvel?" And he's like, "Yeah, go ahead." It gave her the name and all that, but it was really just Dave Cockrum just drawing a random sexy lady. And
Chris Claremont's like, "Do you want this picture back?"
I got plans.
Not anymore.
Hold on, it's stuck to this other paper.
But what a great. You know what? I've always loved shapeshifters. Last week for DC, Chameleon Boy was my favorite.
Oh, he's one of my favorite of all time.
Yeah, so shapeshifters are always such a great character.
My daughter wants me to show the character that she created. She created it, I drew it, and then she just handed me the colored version of it. So this is her character, Laser Girl.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
Get that copyrighted.
Yes.
That is cool.
She's got muscles.
I like that.
Do I keep this or you want it back? Okay, she just came down to give that to me.
Good job.
All right, good night.
Oh,
I know, right?
that's awesome. I have my grandkids.
All right, so
Where are my grandkids? I got to call my daughter.
all right, so we are on to our number 9 picks, and Tone will be given his number 9 first, and that
My number 9 is Owen Reese, the Molecule Man.
Oh, great
I
villain.
love him.
And I never want to miss an Owen Reese appearance. I understand with who he is and what he does, he can't be in a monthly, probably a limited series. Because how do you write a monthly series for a character that has some of these power sets, right?
Yeah,
he can do anything.
He was being a Fantastic Four guy, right, growing up, and seeing the different appearances in the 70s when he would pop up. And the original incarnation of him, I really didn't with the wand, and not really my favorite, right? But I love the power set at that point. Like, that's really interesting. I fell in love with him during the original Secret Wars, right? And from that point on, anytime there's a Oris appearance, I'm there for it. I love what he matured into. I love the fact that even, I think it was Secret Wars 2 when Secret Wars 2 when they he's just hanging out with Volcana at the couch at the house. Like, there's all this crazy stuff going on in the world. He's like, oh yeah, things are screwed up, but let me see how this plays out. I'm going to sit here and keep watching television and eating chips with my love, right?
Yeah.
And I kind of love that down home aloofness about him. Even the new Secret Wars, when he shows up and you find out he's like the singular being that exists simultaneously as himself across the entire multiverse in every reality, right? And so I just love everything about him. I wish I got to see him more. I love when they drag him out, and I'm there for him. So that's my number 9 pick.
nice.
That's an amazing pick.
Yeah, that's really interesting. He's always on the edge of madness too.
Yeah.
And with a power like that, how would you not be?
Oh yeah. And Tone, I'm with you. I fell in love with that character during the Secret Wars, the original Secret Wars. I just thought he was so sad to me, that he had all this power, but he was just on the edge of madness, and you just felt bad for him,
I did. I simultaneously laughed out loud and fell in love at the end of the 2015 Secret Wars, because the 2015 Secret Wars only ends because Owen just says, "Oh yeah, okay, all right." I read and Doom's dialogue going on and click up. Oh, you think you could do a better job? Cool, right? Wait, no, and suddenly the story is over, right? And just that aloofness, if you will, of Owen.
Yeah.
That spot hinting to as you point out, kind of that edge of madness. Like, I'll change it all in a second, right? If it feels good, right?
Yep.
And so there it is.
Well, Chris, you talked about mega powerful. I mean, that could be used to describe your number 9 pick.
Gladiator. I mean, come on. I'm a Legion fan, and this is Superboy of the Legion.
Yep.
In Marvel's universe, but look at that. I mean, again, character design.
Mm-hmm.
That is a phenomenal look. Plus he's just awesome. He leads the Share, what you call it,
Imperial Guard,
and he is just one bad mother. He first appeared a few times in the Fantastic Four. They really hadn't had him figured out, but
he's also a bit of a dick.
Yeah, he is.
Oh, yeah.
He is.
He was in charge of the Star Empire for a while.
Yep. Great character, great attitude. I think it's also interesting that his powers are based on his confidence.
Yes.
Too. And
that is cool.
When I get to my number 2 character, he kind of shattered his confidence, which is really great. So but Gladiator, so it's neat all the ties we have running through our characters here.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, And a great character design. That is I love the Mohawk too.
Yeah. That is so cool.
Character design that could easily fit in with the Legion too.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
So talking about tying all the characters together, there's your pick at number 9, Gary, which is in the same universe.
Mm-hmm. And a character design that does fit in with the Legion because he was that close to being a Legionnaire along with Storm, who Dave Cockrum created when he was still at DC. And then when he went to Marvel, he went to Marvel to do X-Men, and he was, he had these Legion characters he was going to introduce, Nightcrawler and Storm, and they used them and turned them into X-Men. And if you look at Nightcrawler's costume, look how reminiscent that is of Chameleon Boys.
And do you remember what the name of that team was going to be? The Outsiders.
The Outsiders, that's right. And Storm's costume, her original costume, look at Cockrum's character design for Saturn Girl's costume.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Very similar, very similar. So it's very much that
Cockrum's ability to design costumes was just phenomenal.
Absolutely. He relaunched the Legion with those character designs, and that helped them really gain a popularity they had never had. That they took them to their greatest height of popularity. And then when Grill took over, that book was just unstoppable. It was great. Dynamite. But Nightcrawler, great character. I love how Claremont fleshed out the look and made him such a cool looking character. The power set, the prehensile tail that's so cool. The fact that he's a perfect mutant because he's shunned of how he looks, and he looks like a demon. And what's so cool is he looks like a demon, yet he is one of the greatest characters of faith in the Marvel universe. Yeah. I love that about him. I love that he was a priest at one time, and he still has a deep, devoted religious aspect. I love the fact that Wolverine comes to him sometimes for absolution and for forgiveness, and to, to confess his sins. And one of the greatest and Nightcrawler's humanity and his courage are, I don't know that there's another character as courageous as Nightcrawler. And one great example of that, Wolverine has had the Berserker was let out of him, and he had killed a bunch of people, and he goes to Nightcrawler, has Crawler meet him in a bar, and they're talking, and he's talking about absolution. And Nightcrawler's telling him, well, you weren't who you were. You were pushed into this thing. You were a monster. You were this and that. He goes, what if I just kill him? And that's what I wanted to do. And then Nightcrawler basically says, then I would stop you. And Wolverine says, do you really think you could stop me? And Kurt says, no, but I would die. Right there. That to me is one of the most impactful things I've read in comics about with a character. It's courage. He says, do you think you could really stop me? No, but I would die trying.
He could of course stop him. It just grab his head and the head away from the body.
You're taking away from the impact of it by saying sure he could beat him. I'm trying to. He said he couldn't, and that's how he was written there. He didn't believe he could, so he believed he couldn't, and he believed that he would have to die stopping him if that's what it took. And he did die. He died trying to save, or he died saving Hope at one point. She was the new mutant messiah. So I love him. I love his character, and I love the fact that he is allowed to be a character with a deep-rooted faith.
Yeah.
In the Marvel universe.
That's what I've always loved about him is his faith.
Yep. And that he is a man of God, even though he looks like a demon from hell.
It's fascinating.
He's a man of God. I love that.
And I like the fun swashbuckler stuff with him too.
Oh yeah, with the little band.
Right, a whole nother.
Yeah, he's a great character. He was originally on my list, like I said, up until about yesterday when I looked at a couple other characters. I'm like, I gotta make some choices. And by that point, you and Chris had your picks into me, so that might have subtly said, I was like, all right, well, I know Nightcrawler's going to be on there. So.
Represented. Right. I agree. I'm the same way. Yep.
So my number 9 pick is one that I know is not on anyone else's list, and that is my man Hercules.
Oh, love Herc.
Hercules.
Hurt the Merc.
Look
at that guy.
He doesn't get
Thank you,
get a
Mobius.
lot of series. He's had a couple mini series.
Oh, they were so
His
good.
minis are fantastic.
Those miniseries were so
Ones
the
great.
from
only-
the 80s.
The most recent series ran for like 10 issues or so each, and I loved them. The only thing I didn't like is that they were like, well, he's not drinking anymore, which is stupid. But I love him on the Avengers where he's just willing to party and just have fun and get drunk and just beat the hell out of everyone. I mentioned Black Knight. I always thought the relationship the two of them had was a pretty good friendship. Not on par with Black Knight or with Beast and Wonder Man, but a pretty good friendship. And Hercules just seeming like he's always ready for a good time and he's always ready for a fight. And
the gift,
whenever
the gift.
Yeah, whenever he
gift.
that's one reason I really want to see a payoff of that Thor post-credit scene, and I want to see Hercules there, and I want to see them fight, and Hercules just reel back and look at Thor and say, "Receive the gift," and then just. But yeah, I dig him, and
I've always loved Hercules.
Yeah,
but listen, he's kind of shallow, and he's kind of shallow, and I love that.
Yeah.
Right? He is who he is. I know in recent years they've made him bisexual, and to me that doesn't ring true because the character's always been about nailing the babes, right?
See, I didn't have a problem with that because if if you look at mythology,
well, the Greek history, that's right.
He is
that's
Greek.
Right. But that's right. But the way I had read him in Marvel Comics for years had me thinking one way about him.
I can see that.
To me, that seemed a departure. I don't mind a character being gay, but and I think it's great when it's done right. I just thought with Hercules, it was just shoved in there to say, okay, we're gonna be really inclusive now, and we're gonna make Hercules, bisexual or gay. And I just felt with him, it didn't ring true.
See,
I felt like for a while there, they were just going to announce, everyone in the Marvel universe was bisexual.
Now, see, there's some characters that I felt it really is shoehorned in, like it doesn't make sense for this character. But like I said, for me, going back to Greek mythology, it made perfect sense for him. And, it doesn't mean that he's not still a womanizer. In fact, I just was looking at the panel the other day when him and Psylocke are fighting someone, and and Psylocke's standing in front of him, and he's kind of looking at, staring at her ass like this is like, oh yeah, we had a great fighting union here. Maybe we should do something else. And she looks at him and goes like, talking about union, like basically you want to have sex, and then it's just a close up of his face with a big goofy smile on his face. He's like, oh, you could read my mind.
I have more of a problem with him not drinking.
Yeah, that's the one I don't like.
That is much more.
Yeah, I don't like. It's always him having a big ale and having a good time, and then going out and beating the shit out of him.
He's a demigod. He's a Greek demigod. He's gonna drink.
You just nailed it. Where I love him, and he's made every Avenger book he's ever been a part of better.
Yeah,
not overly complex. He's a demigod who has a good time, loves to drink, loves to fight, loves to get it on with the ladies, right? And he's always still at the backdrop of that noble and heroic, right?
Yeah.
And so, that last series he had, it showed the pretty, even though Gilgamesh is a lame character, but it showed the cool friendship between him and Gilgamesh. And I always remember that great Thor cover where Hercules is shoving Thor off to the side and the woman's there. He's like, Walt Simonson, art on vacation, and so art thou.
Assistant editor's work.
Yeah.
I think it was.
So that's my number 9 pick. So we're going to circle back around to Tone, and your number 8 pick.
My number 8 pick is a little bit of a deep cut for some people, but it is Madrox from the X-Men.
Yeah,
love it.
Making my list too, man. Such a cool character.
And so I fell in love with Jamie the moment I came into contact with Jamie. And we said earlier about sadness when we were talking about Owen. That's what first hit me with Jamie. When you find out his backstory, being raised in isolation with only dupes of himself, right? And how Jamie's technically a good guy, but sometimes a little weird and off-putting. And I always wanted to see more of that, right?
Yeah.
And also the fundamental concept is you got a guy, less manpower, right? Whatever you need done. Now, fast forward, there's the X Factor run. There's the X Factor run. He gets the legacy virus, right? Whereas dupes are actually, it's interesting to me that in that run, most of the team doesn't know there's something strange going on with them. What was it, Guido? Guido, how do we say his name? Guido, his best friend, knows something's going on with him. Guido realizes that we're not looking at the dupes are here. Jamie's not here. I thought that was a great pull for their friendship, right? You can't slip your friends past me. They start manifesting their own personalities. And then you find out Jamie has a legacy virus. That was heartbreaking. I rode Jamie all the way down. And then with the follow-on series, the Madrox series, the X Factor,
the miniseries was cool.
After that, where X Factor Detective Agency. Madrox. When Madrox is around, I show up. Didn't like some of the stuff they did with them in some of the X books, I guess around the mid 2000 teens, when they always brought him in. When they all Silver Star was medalist. We'll talk a little bit later, right? And so, but with that, bottom line is that I love this character when he shows up. I wish I got him more, and I wish I got a cleaner
Daredevil's
last couple of times. But Madrox is my guy.
I always liked his relationship with Layla Miller too. Yeah. It was interesting how he wanted to always took care of her.
And I love what Peter David did with him, where he had made all the dupes and then just sent them out in the world, because whenever he reabsorbs one, he reabsorbs whatever they know. So he sent one out like, you go learn how to be a fighter. You go learn how to shoot guns. You go learn how to be a scientist. You go do that, and just sent them out in the world for like a year, and then had them all come back. And there was the one that stayed out there that became a priest and built a family, and he allowed that dupe to just stay and have his life.
That was such a good story. Really cool. I was just going to bring that up. That is writing at its finest.
Yes, it is.
Peter David did a phenomenal job on that run. I had that run before I cut my collection up, and it was just so good, beginning to end.
Can you imagine them actually utilizing that in the current Marvel comic scene, right? Just how influential this character has the possibility to be. But Marvel keeps him on the shelf, right? So,
yeah, he's a great character. I love him.
Good pull.
That's a strong pick.
Wow. That's a great drawing too.
We're going to go with Chris's number 8 pick now.
Danny Moonstar.
Love it.
She has been that's my pull. That's my pull from the New Mutants days. I loved her when I first saw her, when I first laid eyes on her. I love that she can fight. She's a warrior, a tracker. She can do anything out in the woods. And then her power set is so fascinating. To be able to show you your greatest fear. And I think she developed later on the ability to pretty much show you anything, didn't she?
They toyed with it, right? They changed it around a little bit.
I've always found her incredible. I loved her Demon Bear story.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just so good, even though Bill did the art on it.
But
it only worked for that.
It worked for that story, not the rest of the story.
It worked for that story. Yeah.
Because it was a nightmare.
Yeah.
It was a nightmare.
It was perfect for that story. But any other time I saw his artwork, I was like, he draws Professor X in his freaking eyebrows.
I would dare say that story, that Demon Bear story, puts the New Mutants. It's probably the most pivotal New Mutant story they told in that 100 issues, right?
I think so too.
I agree.
It was fantastic.
If you pull that out, there's not a lot of meat there, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're gonna break the X-Men trend with Gary's number 8 pick.
All right, let me say about Danielle Moonstar. I named my daughter Danielle after her. So
that's why I was surprised she didn't make your list.
Yeah, I know. It's tough cuts. All right. So I I know you know what time it is. What time is it? It's clobbering time.
Clobbering time.
Clobbering time. So for me, we did a character of the week show, and we did it on Ben Grimm. And I said this during it, that Spider-Man and the Fantastic Four and all these other great characters are so integral to the Marvel Universe. But the Thing, and I will fight anybody on this, to me, the Thing is the absolute beating heart of the Marvel Universe.
Yeah, of the entire Marvel
universe. He is the heart of the Marvel Universe. This big, crusty, rocky exterior.
He's Kirby.
He's Kirby. He is Jack Kirby's
he's absolutely the heart of the Marvel Universe.
Yes, he is. And he is the beating heart of the universe. Old blue-eyed Benji is the softy, inside, but he's this rock. And you talk about a dude that is no quit in him, no quit at all. And he will fight. He will fight till he can fight no longer. It's this guy right here. And he inspires everyone around him. He's been a member, of the FF for so long. He was a member of the West Coast Avengers for a little bit. This guy right here is just the beating heart of the Marvel Universe. And the pathos. This is another example of a man with this vibrant mind trapped in the body, the shell of a monster. And sometimes I feel the same way, right? We feel like we're trapped. We're trapped in this shell.
Yeah, that's absolutely me.
Like Swamp Thing is one of my favorite characters. Alec Holland trapped in that body of this swamp creature. Ben Grimm is trapped in this body. And I know nowadays, many times he can turn back to Ben and this and that, but there's just something about it. And I love the fact that he's accepting of who he is.
Yeah.
He's come to accept it. And, issue 51 of FF, This Man, This Monster, that cover, that great Kirby cover that's so poignant, where he's just looking down, and the pathos in that. And I love this character, and I love the Thing. Who else in the Marvel Universe could call a poker game and have people fight to be able to get invited to it? God damn it. That's right.
The Thing's poker game. I was going to.
Poker games are epic in the Marvel Universe, that everybody wants an invite. Everybody that's anybody wants to be on those poker games.
Alicia calls him Lumpy.
That she can. So awesome, Mobius. So and y'all in the chat, great picks.
Absolutely,
even though
we don't
picks. We haven't commented on everyone, but everybody's got.
Well, I haven't commented on some of them because I know what are on the lists, and some of them I'm like, we'll see.
We'll get there. Yeah, but the Thing,
Ben Grimm,
part of the Marvel Universe, and I think it sounds like all y'all agree with that.
I love, man. He was in all those books I was talking about reading, collected from the library all the time. I always saw Ben Grimm growing up, and I just related to him because he was just so cool,
And Tone being an FF guy, I know he's on board.
Absolutely. One of the things I love about Ben is that, and I told you I really struggled not having Ben on my list. That really.
I got you, Ben.
The thing about Ben is they did with Ben what they've never been able to successfully do with Peter, which is bring him to a place of happiness and acceptance. All right.
Yes.
And so Ben starts off really in a difficult place in his mind, with himself and in the world, right? Wrestling with who he is and what he's become. And the journey we've watched him take over the past 20 years, he's come to terms with who he is. We don't get we need to change back all the time for him to feel comfortable in his skin. And now he's a family man with his family, which I still say foundational to the Fantastic Four itself. And it sounds not, I don't want to be dramatic, but the line in the movie that was in the trailer, that Sue Storm, the Fantastic Four movie, the recent one, where Sue Storm says Ben's always been a rock. I love that line.
Me too.
Because it shows how foundational he is and what he's everything about him. I wish the transition. It's a difficult thing growing a character in a healthy way and not losing fans, and I think they accomplished it with Ben.
You talking about a movie line? I like the one in the Doomsday trailer when they're meeting, M'Baku, and they're and they're meeting the Wakandans, and they're going, we're blah 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 blah, and he's like, Ben from Yancey Street between 53rd and blah blah blah.
Yeah, I like. Are you all right?
I've been avoiding all Doomsday spoilers.
Oh,
you're
good. You're good. He stopped. I liked what you said about the journey.
Ben killed everybody. What?
Yeah, everyone's dead. I liked what you said about the journey. I mean, it was absolutely a journey that we all watched and were fascinated to watch it unfold. And it took a long time, but it was so well done. You know.
Yeah.
So well done.
Well, my number 8 pick has also been a member of the Fantastic Four, though not quite as long as Ben has, and that's among other teams he's been part of, and that's my man Scott Lang, Ant-Man.
Oh,
okay.
Nice. Yeah,
that's Scott Lang and my ex-wife.
Wow. I've got his first appearance his first appearance was in Avengers. His first appearance in Marvel premiere as Ant-Man came out in the month and year I was born. My wife got it for me as a Christmas gift a couple years ago. And it's just a character I think is really cool. I like the fact that he's a single dad and he's trying to balance being a good dad and a superhero and having a job so he could support his daughter. And he isn't really taken seriously, a lot by a lot of superheroes, but he should be because he is smart. He is an extremely capable hero. That short run when he was a member of the Fantastic Four, he was the leader of it, and it was fantastic. And I just, I think a really great character, and I kind of wish that we got to see more of him. He's had his shot at a couple series over the years. Unfortunately, they never really last long, even with, having 3 solo movies and all the Avengers movies and stuff. And unfortunately, he just can't seem to carry his own series. Not really doing a whole lot of anything right now.
Yeah. I mean, he absolutely is one of the more successful Marvel legacy characters.
Yeah.
I like his background. I like that it was different, so much different than the original Ant-Man. But you're right. He's just not around that much.
He's fun-loving, but he can be serious when he needs to be.
I like him. I like him.
And, he's underestimated a lot. He does kind of have that, almost that Peter Parker kind of bad luck, where just when things kind of seem like they'll go his way, something will fall out and be like, oh, man, just that bad luck.
I love the whole struggling single father thing, too.
Yeah.
Well, and he's an ex-con. Turning his life around. I always love the redemption.
There's so much more they can do with him.
Yeah, there is. All right, so we're going to go on to Tone now. We're on our number 7 picks.
Well, I'm going to end up spinning the block and bringing us back to the X universe, right?
This was the one you had for the next one. Oh, wait, no, that's where. Oh, I put the wrong one. You were on. Oh, there we go.
And we are going Bobby Drake, right?
It's cold in here.
And so I'm a huge fan of X-Men.
My nipples are hard.
I've loved them, and so
I hear he's an amazing friend.
I know, right?
That's a great image.
And, I couldn't tell you when I first fell in love with Iceman. I just kind of always had love for Iceman, and I always wanted to see more. I hated the fact that he was always just comic relief and not really seriously. And in the early, even post X-Men original series, they become an X Factor, and he gets a bit of the power glow up during that run. He ends up going and spending time with the Frost Giants. He's got to wear the belt, right? Keep his power strange. I think this is going somewhere, but then really it's just kind of these things in a block of ice. So I love the character, love the spirit of the character, but was frustrated they wouldn't grow the character, right? And then we get 2 infamous events with Iceman. Number 1, the meeting with Mikhail Rasputin, right? Where he shows him, hey, you're not in your true form, right? In reality, maybe you can be a being that's complete control over ice. Number two, the infamous Emma Frost taking over his body and using his body in ways that hadn't been done. And that sparks a decade of character growth in Bobby, right? And so ever since then, there's a big controversy about him coming out of the closet. I didn't have a problem with it. It's not like he had a girlfriend back. I forget her name back in the X Factor run. Opal. There you go. Thank you very much. But there was nothing really there consistent. They teased a little bit with him and Rogue and at one point, and that didn't really go anywhere. But what I didn't like was how ham-fisted the delivery of it was.
Right? Oh, it was terrible.
It was outed.
It was terribly written. It was just, and it wasn't even. It was the young one when Bendis had it written where Jean Grey reads his mind, goes, "Oh, you're gay," and he's like, "I am." Oh yeah, I guess I am. To me, this is one of the ones I did have a problem with them making gay because it didn't really, to me, it didn't make any sense because he was always such a womanizer as a character and always chasing different women. Yeah. And then, like you said, maybe if it was written better, but it was.
You're right. It was very ham-handed.
Very poorly written.
Yeah.
And didn't the older Iceman have to tell the younger Iceman, "Oh yeah, by the way, you're going to be gay"?
It was the other way around. The younger.
The younger one told the older one.
Yeah. So they did the whole X-Men where Hank brings the
younger ones back in
themselves, right? The teenage versions of themselves to the current to show Scott how far he's fallen, right?
Right. You talk about character assassinations. There's another one that Marvel taken down.
And then that translates to when they finally meet teenage Bobby and adult Bobby. Teenage Bobby is much more secure in himself and being open with his homosexuality. He meets adult Bobby and says, "Hey, aren't you gay?" Right? And adult Bobby goes, "Oh gosh, you're more put together than me. I totally am." Right? And I was like, this is such a horrible way to introduce this. But with that notwithstanding, in the modern incarnation, I love they fixate on his power. Omega level mutant can do all of these things. Mm-hmm. I love that about it, but I feel like now I wanted all the great Bobby writing and all the great Bobby exposure. Now he gets the exposure, and they're always focused on the power and not the guy, right? The different forms he takes, the different ways he's presented. I've seen artists go crazy with them. I love Bobby Drake as a character, and I always want to show up for Iceman, right?
Oh yeah.
There's a real early in the Krakoa era, he was part of the team that Kitty Pryde was leaving, right? And he had
the pirate team.
Yeah, he had a lot of edge to him. Then they really came across this. He's a guy who's been in these trenches since he was a teenager, right? And they really brought out the angry warrior aspect of him when he would encounter these people that hated him for his race, right?
That's the way he should be presented.
Yeah, and so
honestly.
And you look at his background, what he went through with his family, and the fact that they wrote that in there, like there's this underlying theme. When I meet people that hate me and people like me, right, I will give you no quarter. I love that, right? And finally they were moving him away from the jokester kind of comic relief kind of character. But either way, that's my pick, Iceman.
In the character, I loved how the switch was flicked within the character when Emma used him and he saw how his powers could be used, that he wasn't just this guy that makes cute ice sculptures or ice slides, that he was basically an elemental, that he was an ice elemental, this almost godlike power that he has. And I love that kicked him to a new level where he realized he was just playing around with kids stuff, that and it inspired him to make him realize that he had to grow up and use his powers in in the big leagues and not as a minor league power user.
So there was
a quick shout out to Emma in that moment, because she takes over his body, she uses power, and then after the onslaught blows up Bobby's chest open, Bobby comes to her asking, "Hey, how did you do those things with my body? Because I don't know how to change back." And she's berating him, but pause. Emma is a teacher. Remember, her Hellions got that, and so what you realize after that, she's actually really taking a different approach to Xavier's role and pushing him and taunting him to drive to use his powers in a better way, right? I utterly love everything about that interaction. But I cut you off. Go ahead, Chris.
No, you're fine, man. I forgot what I was going to say. I smoke a lot of weed, man. You can't cut me off.
Well, with that, let's go to Chris's number.
He doesn't remember who his number.
We're gonna go.
I don't remember my number 7,
which
it's
is
another X-Men.
It's also in the X-Men universe. There's a lot of everyone doesn't realize there's a lot of X-Men that have made these lists.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
I love Colossus. I love his. Now, when we first saw Colossus, we were in a Cold War with Russia.
Mm-hmm.
And we as kids were taught not really to like Russians. I found his character fascinating because he was forbidden. You know what I mean? It was something we weren't supposed to like, but I thought he was awesome. I love the fact that he's a poor kid that worked for the collective. Didn't have a lot of money and basically went into the X-Men because Xavier helped his family out.
And because Chris likes forbidden men.
Yeah.
Well,
I love forbidden men that look metal.
He broke their farming equipment by saving saving his sister.
His sister, his awesome sister, who I also love. I love Magic. I think she's awesome.
We know they just launched a book that's Magic and Colossus.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, I just and look at him visually; he is just spectacular.
Yeah,
And I always love watching him kick ass, and sometimes watching him get his ass kicked. I loved it when Wolverine made him get his ass kicked by Juggernaut.
Juggernaut whipped his ass. So good. And he had it coming.
Yeah, he did. He did. He was being a bit of a punk.
Let's not forget later on when Juggernaut beats the stuffing out of Warpath. Juggernaut says, "Hey, you gave me a couple of good shots. Reminds me of that kid Colossus, right?"
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, remember when Colossus got the power of Juggernaut?
Oh yeah,
right.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, at one point, Colossus became the new, emissary or whatever you call it of Cyttorak, and he had all of his power combined with all of the power of Juggernaut, and the suit was kind of a combination of Colossus's suit and the Juggernaut's, and he had the helmet, and no one was stopping him.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That was the Thor story, the Asgard story. But in that one, what was crazy about that?
Good choices, Boosh.
He could not physically stop.
Yes, Mobius.
Even if his bones were broken, he could not stop. Right? It was an amazing take on the character.
And I love that he's the soul of a poet, and he's an artist.
He's just he's a sweet man inside. He's just got the heart of a lover, and he's just a good man. And he was so impactful to my youth that when I was actually worried about him during the Mutant Massacre, he was frozen and couldn't change back, and he was paralyzed.
Well, who wished that he'd stay that way was Harpoon.
Harpoon.
Or no, not Harpoon. It was
Riptide.
Riptide. Yeah.
That was during the Mutant Massacre, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was rough.
Of that moment, and this is what great storytelling does. This is what adhering to character principles are. Colossus is this peaceful warrior poet, this gentle soul that the X-Men have honed into a warrior, right? Who doesn't embrace violence, right? Who gets into this mutant massacre situation, and is pushed to a point where he kills a guy, right? Yeah. And not the regretful, oh my God, snaps his neck and then calls out for Harpoon. And that imagery stuck with young me, right?
What did he say to him? He says, does he say something like, pray to whatever God you worship or something like that? Like, oh shit.
And make peace with your gods. You are next.
Yeah.
and him while holding Riptide by the neck, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
You know, if you don't have the peaceful buildup and the exploration of his sense of peace, that scene itself doesn't have the impact that when you
Exactly.
cross the
Yeah.
threshold. I would argue
absolutely.
that scene set the rest of the tone for the Mutant Massacre.
That was incredible writing. Just incredibly well done.
And it always made me hate the flip side of that when they start the character assassination of Colossus, beginning
Yep.
with the alternate universe version, the Age of Apocalypse version of him that abandons the kids, right?
Yeah.
And ever since then, there's been this undercurrent where, in the end, Colossus loses, or Colossus doesn't live up to the ideal. And I hate that take on the character, right? Again, I like my heroes, while complicated, to be heroes.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so,
Absolutely.
yeah, I love Colossus. Great pick.
And he was the willing guinea pig for the legacy virus. He
Yeah.
sacrificed himself.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't
And,
even.
and he has. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say it wasn't even a guinea pig as much as Beast created it and said, "I got to find someone. We can't do this." And they were like, "He's like, because for this to work, somebody has to inject it and activate use their mutant power, but it'll kill him." And he wasn't intending to use it. He's like, "I'm going to have to find another way." And Colossus was so heartbroken after Ileana had died because of the legacy virus, and he just basically said, "I'm not going to let I can't let anybody else go through this." Sticks himself, armors up, and that's it. Sacrifice himself for an entire race.
Yep.
What a stud.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. He's
All
a
right,
true
well-
hero.
We're on to Gary's number 7 pick, which I inadvertently spoiled a minute
That's
ago.
okay. All right, there we go.
What a man.
One of my favorite images, that great John Buscema on the
I
treasury.
love that.
I love that. I love that image so much.
It's so cool.
Classic Spider-Man all the way. So Tone made a point earlier where he said that, Ben Grimm has come to a happy place, but it's a place Peter can't get to. And I think one of the great things about Peter is he can't get to that place because Peter Parker's whole life is defined by guilt. And because of that guilt, Peter Parker's a character that will carry that guilt with him till the day he dies. And that's why I think he will always have a bit of a troubled life because of that. Because of, we talk about the new Ultimate Spider-Man, where it's a Spider-Man we all want. He's with his wife, he's got the kids, blah, blah, blah. But also in that book, his Uncle Ben is alive and well. That Peter Parker does not have the guilt of not stopping his uncle's murder. And because of him just being a punk, being a, pain in the ass punk that didn't lend a hand when he could have done that. So I think that is a real defining character motivator and flaw perhaps, but it's the guilt who defines Peter Parker. That's who he is. And I just think the pathos of Ben being this good man trapped in this shell, the pathos of Peter is he's a good man, but he's trapped in this shell of his own making. That's just this tremendous guilt that he carries with him every single day. Every time he looks at his Aunt May, he knows that he made her a widow by his inaction. And I just think that's a heavy burden.
And that's why he keeps trying to poison her.
Well, there you go. But he keeps trying to do the right thing, and he's he's got all the quips and he's got all the the jokes when he's fighting. But like most comedians have a tragic backstory.
Oh yeah.
And so does Peter Parker. He has a tragic backstory. But I love the character. I love the fact that so many people could see themselves in this kid who was a high school. When Stan first created him, he's this high school kid. He's puny Parker. He was picked on all the time, made to feel inadequate, and he really tapped into the zeitgeist of so many, teenagers and younger, even and adolescents when they were reading comics. And I just think it's a brilliant character. I think it's one of the greatest character designs. I love the power set, and you want
to know something interesting about the character design? It's stolen. Have you heard this story? The Ben Cooper Halloween costumes?
Yes.
a couple of years before Marvel, a year or two before they introduced Spider-Man, there was a Ben Cooper Halloween costume called Spider-Man, and it wasn't hyphenated. It was just Spider-Man like Superman. And the design of it, the mask with the eyes and the webs on the design on the costume itself, looked almost just like this costume design, except they were different colors. I want to say it was like yellow and green and not red and blue. And this costume came out, like I said, a year or two before Marvel introduced Spider-Man. It's said that, who knows now because they're all dead, but Jack Kirby had always claimed that he designed the Spider-Man costume, and then, Ditko went and drew it. At one point, Jack Kirby had worked as a costume designer for Ben Cooper. So, there was speculation that like maybe he just said, hey, I'm going to take this costume design, I'm going to change it around a little over here. And then after Spider-Man was introduced, not long after that, Marvel signed a deal with Ben Cooper Costumes where they made all officially licensed Marvel Halloween costumes that they would release. And then I saw something that was speculation, like maybe this was because Ben Cooper went to him and were like, we're going to sue you because you stole our design.
Maybe if Kirby worked for them, Kirby designed it originally.
Yeah, exactly. That, that's the thought. But I just, thought, that was a kind of an interesting thing because it's such an iconic costume design.
Well, great design.
Something else about that costume? It's hard to draw.
It is. Oh, I thought you were going to say it owed you $5.
Yeah.
It owes me $5.
Yeah. So great character, great costume, great rogues gallery. But Spider-Man, was just the home run that Marvel Comics hit in the early 60s. So
yes, Mobius, that was.
I remember that show too, where Nicholas Hammond played him, and
it was fantastic.
There's a misconception that it was canceled because it didn't do well in the ratings. It's the opposite. It got really great ratings for the time. They just never aired episodes that consecutively, and they would air one or two, and then it'd be gone for months, and then they air another episode on a different day and time. But it got good ratings when they aired it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I really liked it. It was fun.
And at one point, they were supposed to do a crossover with that in the Lou Ferrigno Hulk.
Yeah. Yeah, so, this is another one of those characters I grew up reading in those books I was talking about. And he's got a special place in my heart for sure.
Same here.
Well, for my number 7 pick, I'm going to go way out there, and it's Spider-Man 2.
There you go.
In years past, it used to be Spider-Man would have ranked much, much higher, in my top 3. And Tone had the right phrase, character assassination. After the way Marvel has just dicked him around over the years, it's made him fall on my list, but I don't think I could ever have a list that Spider-Man is not in the top 10.
Yeah. Agreed. Understood.
It all started with the Clone Saga. And then it went downhill.
Yeah.
All right. So we are going to go to Tone's number 6 pick.
So let's lock this up, right? My number 6 pick is Spider-Man. Right?
Damn.
With what I believe is the greatest costume redesign there is. That
is a part that I wanted to share. I don't think there's a costume transition design that's more iconic than the monochromatic black costume
and drastic.
Yeah. And not just in costume design, but in character mood and character presentation, right? This shook up the world when they dropped it in the 80s. In Secret Wars. I've got it right back up here on the wall. You can't see it because of the camera angle, right? And I think it set a trend. I think Peter is the most fashionable hero out there, save Storm, in the number of costumes that he has, right? That are all, if you look at this, and they did the inverse of this, right, years later with the Future Foundation costume, right?
Yeah.
But Peter as a whole,
Yeah,
not
it
not
is.
just the visual aesthetic of the design, the journey of Peter Parker just always it grabs my heart. It holds me into it. I love to watch him go through real reasonable adversity. Sometimes people write Peter's outright depressing, right? I don't like it that way. I don't like Peter written as a loser, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes the writers will take it too far in the other direction. Haven't been a fan of what they've done for him probably with the past 10 years. It's been a little rough. Definitely spotty at best.
I
Uh,
agree.
but Peter as a character, I mean, I think, again, not to be cliche, it's very easy on the DC side of the world to when people, the S on Superman's chest stands for hope, right? Um, I believe that's what Peter represents in the Marvel universe, right? And I loved when they introduced the new Avengers and they officially put Peter on the Avengers and the new Avengers when they launched that book. And they wrote him in that form as the gold standard. He just sees himself doing what he does, and he has no idea that the heroes around are in awe of him because he's been through everything publicly. He's lost family members. He's been outed. He's had those difficult. He's been vilified by the press. He's been chased by the police, and he still suits up every day and goes out and does what he
Yeah.
has to do, regardless of the cost to himself. And the concept that the other heroes on the Avengers have watched that, right, and have watched that, and they're inspired. They believe kind of like Peter being on the team is being next to the Beatles, and
Yeah.
I love that take on the character. And I love when they write Peter, and it's not just the powers. Then Peter slides into these humane moments, right? A great example is right at the beginning of the Superior Spider-Man arc when Ox One, he's taking over putting Peter into his dying body. The brains are switching. He's seeing everything from Peter's perspective. He's realizing how much love and hope Peter's always had for him. He's seeing that Peter never wanted to hurt him, right? And Peter's last words when Ox, like, seeing the struggle, the pain, the sacrifice, the suffering that Peter's been through, begging him to stop the transfer. I just can't take it anymore. And Peter's last words to him saying, "Hey, you're Spider-Man now. You got to go do this," right? As they say in today's world, chef's kiss.
Mm.
Right. A well-written Peter is one of the best heroes in comics, and that's why he made my list.
Well, I love you talked about his humanity. One of the most special things I've read with this character is right after Johnny Storm died, holding the wall with Annihilus and his hordes, and Spider-Man had Franklin Richards out, a young Franklin Richards out, and they were
that was good.
eating hot dogs on top of the building. And Franklin was very sad that his Uncle Johnny had died. And he'd said, "My Uncle Johnny died, and I think maybe I could have helped, but I didn't help." And, and Peter told him the story about him and his Uncle Ben. And it was just wonderful how he spoke to the young Franklin, and they were enjoying a hot dog, and just had this moment that, I mean, almost brings a tear to your eye reading the humanity of it. Peter Parker, the reason the guilt is so heavy with him is because of his humanity, and it really he carries it with him every day. But for him to reassure Franklin the way he did, and to take that time to help a child through his grief is just a wonderful microcosm of who Peter Parker is. He is just a wonderful, compassionate hero. Whether he's stopping a supervillain or whether he's comforting a child.
Yeah,
and that, to me, that's the
he's
Spider-Man.
a hero at every level, man.
Yeah,
he really is. We talk about his guilt, and I agree with you. His guilt does kind of determine his outcome of sometimes bad luck, but that guilt also drives him.
Yes.
And it drives him to a point that he's been able to live through some things that should have killed him. He has drive like no one else. An example of that was when, and I think it was in an X-Men book, when Manhattan had been turned into like this medieval wasteland with magic and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't he I believe he was crucified.
Mm-hmm.
And he snapped that. He just snapped the crucifix across his back and was able to get off of that. Am I misremembering that? I mean, that was years ago when I read that.
It's vague. I can't.
Well, it could have been an Avengers book.
Mhm.
But yeah,
There was that one Spider-Man story where they had was it like Spider Island or something. It might have been from that.
no, that would have been way too late for me.
I'm thinking that was that, and I could be totally wrong on this, but was that during the Inferno run?
It could have been.
It might have been that.
It could have been. And
Yeah,
it was-
that's a vague memory. I can't recollect.
yeah. There was some sort of sorcerer that was doing some stuff, and it was a really interesting story because it was all like sword and sorcery, but it was Manhattan had been turned into this big land of sword and sorcery, and all the characters were changed. It was really neat. It was a really, really good story.
It was Siegfried and Roy.
And then I just come back from and then the last thing I'll close on is the designs. I come back to the costumes visually, from a visual aesthetic. They killed it with this costume. They just absolutely one of the best costume changes in the history of comics, not just in the history of Marvel, but also you have, like I said, the Future Foundation version. You have the Iron Spider that they introduced in the original Civil War, which is a great comic design. You have the Ben Reilly version of the costume. You're probably talking to the one guy that actually appreciated the effort of the Spider Clone Saga as all as it went, right? Because and really quick before I get crucified here, it takes balls to make that decision, right? If you look at what was taking place, Marvel Spider-Man was red hot through the 80s. You hit the 90s, all your young talent leaves, right? And to form Image, and you're saying, okay, what's the next thing I'm going to do? DC enters this era, your competitor enters this era of big change, right? Where they're doing dramatic changes to their characters. And so Marvel says, we're going to do this. It took Stone to make that call. The concept was an interesting concept that just failed miserably as a story, right?
I agree with you on that. They just painted
Absolutely.
themselves into a corner, Yep. Then they were like, what do we do now?
Peter Parker.
Yeah,
That story I was talking about was in X-Men 191.
Okay.
so it wasn't.
It was crucified.
So
I'm sorry.
oh, it sounds like the Inferno storyline was part of the X-Men thing. So it sounds
yeah.
like it's been a part of
Yeah,
that.
it was a evil wizard crucifies him. It was a wizard named Kulan Gath.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, taking it back to X-Men for Chris's number.
Not another X-Men. Bum, bum,
Another
bum.
repeat.
There you go.
There you go.
Another repeat.
I smell brimstone and sulfur.
Mm.
I mean, he's just, I don't think I can say anything else about him. He's just an awesome, awesome character.
Yeah, he is.
Happy-go-lucky, but deeply serious at the same time. He's just awesome.
Like most Germans.
Yes, yes. Like most of my people. I don't know how to tell a joke.
Mhm.
But
Well, since we've said so much about him, we'll go to Gary's number 6 pick.
There we go, baby.
there he is. Oh, a Zek, too.
So no, I said no villains, but we got an anti-hero here.
This was issue 4. This was the cover to issue 4, right?
Of the first miniseries. Yep.
Yeah.
It looks like a Mac Bolan book, doesn't it?
Yeah. Dude is
A
pissed.
novel.
Frank stays pissed. I just always love that with the blood coming out of the
That's so cool.
from the out of the target. I love Frank Castle. Frank Castle is so flawed. I love him when he's on his mission. I love John Barenthal as Punisher. I mean, my goodness, what a great rich character. I love his origin, the tragedy of it, and then I love the modern retellings of things where, like Bourne, and we find out that Frank was a piece of work before his family was massacred. that Frank had a lot of tendencies that when he came home, he didn't adjust really well anyway. And so I just think this is so complex. He was born out of the era when we had the Death Wish movies and the thing, and the things like that, and all the revenge fantasy, because crime was so rampant in our big cities at the time. So
the time of Bernard Getz and.
Well, before that, he was way before Getz.
Yeah, it was before that, wasn't it? It was in the 70s. Yeah.
Getz was in the 80s, and Frank was...
it was, during the Enforcer movies and all.
Right. Well, the Enforcer, like I said, the Death Wish movies with Bronson.
Yeah.
And so Frank was just this avenger, of righting wrongs and war on crime. And but it started as a one-note thing. He was a one-man war on crime, but how they have fleshed him out over the years and made him
he does.
Relentless soldier, and unrelenting, and just this force of nature. Frank Castle is just a total badass. And what I really love about the character, and I understand that we're getting to the point where we can't do it anymore. But I thought it was really, really important that this character was a Vietnam vet, because Vietnam was the dirty war. Yeah. The war where these guys, one of my best friends in life, God rest you, Walter Ellaby, that I worked with for many, many years at Metro. He was 2 tours in Vietnam. And as a young man, he got in trouble with the law. And the judge said, go to jail or go to Vietnam. And he joined the Marines and he went to Vietnam. And when he would tell a story about Vietnam, he would say, when I was in hell. And that's, wow. I mean, a man's telling you a story, goes, when I was in hell. But Frank Castle needed to be, in my mind, the ultimate Frank Castle was born out of that war. This is a war where when Walt came home, he wasn't celebrated when he came home for defending his country.
No, he was spit on.
He was spit on. He was scowled at. He was, even the World War II vets looked down on the Vietnam vets, which a lot of time were the kids and things like that. It just was a dirty war in so many people's minds. And thankfully, we've come out of that, and we've respected these vets. And I know when Chris was in Panama, that was like the first war in a long time. People felt good about it. It was brief. It was quick. It was done.
No, when we got back home from Panama, there were a small amount of protesters.
Right.
But a year later, when I got back from Desert Storm, it had done a complete 180.
Yeah.
So it was weird. It was weird.
I bet it was.
I mean, just a smattering, maybe 5-10 people. But they were there.
But you were in that transition period, though.
Yeah.
You were in that transition period where the public...
20 years after Vietnam ended.
Right, where we learned, though, even if you don't agree with the war, we learned to appreciate our men and women in uniform that were doing what they were supposed to do, that they were doing their jobs and doing their business. So... well,
I mean, there was when we got back home from Desert Storm, it was a completely different show. I mean, there were people there praising us. Our families were there, and it felt good.
Well, all the more reason why. That's just a backdrop, but I think it was important that Castle was a Vietnam vet.
Yes.
He was a Vietnam vet in this war that was unpopular. And when he came home, he was not celebrated, that he was kind of vilified.
Yeah, and they were, all of them were.
What they did with this character, somebody mentioned Garth Ennis. I love Garth Ennis and the work he has done with this character. And Punisher is so badass. And, one of my favorite Punisher books was written by the great Greg Rucka, and it was Punisher War Zones. And it was Spider-Man goes to the Avengers, and he says, okay, look, I've had it. Frank Castle's a serial killer, and we don't do a damn thing about him. He gets locked up, and it's like putting him in Club Med. He's happy as hell to be there in jail killing inmates. So we have to do something different. So
It's like Rorschach in the
It's like
Watchmen movie.
locking a mouse in a cheese
Yeah.
factory.
It's like
It's like Rorschach in the Watchmen movie where he goes, "You don't get it. I'm not stuck in here with you. You're all stuck in here with me."
right.
Hell yeah.
And the greatness of this character is how Rucka used perfectly when he used the Avengers as ways to see how Castle is interpreted, because here Peter sees him as a serial killer. Black Widow first says, he called this big meeting, that he wants the Avengers to do this. She goes, well, he only kills bad guys, right? That's Natasha's response. Tony Stark's response was, I left the opera for this. Thor was, oh my God, he's just a guy, and Cap agrees and says he's right. We need to do something about Castle. And then Logan, Wolverine, who's there, Cap says something to at the end. He goes, I noticed you didn't say anything. And he says, well, I didn't think you wanted to hear what I had to say. He goes, go ahead. He goes, I just think some people deserve killing. Some people need.
Well, I mean, consider what he did to Wolverine. He shot his balls off and halfway ran him over. Steamroller. Left it parked on top of him, and he told him when he shot him off, he goes, they'll grow back.
They'll grow back. I mean, this is just such a great badass character. But Wolverine was defending Castle, goes, yeah, he's killing people that deserve to be killed. But you can have here the Earth's greatest heroes have this many different responses to this guy. And it just, again, shows Peter's character that he's a mass murderer. We let him get away with this shit.
Yeah.
But Castle is just an unrelenting force of nature. I loved his interactions with Spidey. I love his interactions with Daredevil, and all
Cap, the respect that he has for Captain America.
Yeah.
He won't raise a fist to Captain America.
No, he doesn't. He respects him, and Cap respects him too, And
Cap calls him soldier.
Yeah, calls him soldier.
Yeah. He respects his service.
Or he calls him Marine. He does not call him soldier. Calls him Marine. Frank was a Marine. But
I love that stretch in Civil War where Castle saves Spider-Man, who's getting away from Stark, right? And they're questioning whether or not they should bring into Cap's forces Castle, right? And Castle's like, hey, Stark's hiring criminals to work on his side, right? We got to stop this. And so Cap, it's like 2 issues later, Cap makes a deal with some criminals. Hey, we can do this, we can work this, and smokes them right on the spot. Blam, blam, right? And Cap's like, you're a monster. And Cap start beating him down. He won't lift a finger. Hey, they were criminals. What do you think, right? This is what I do. And Cap's like, fight back. Not against you. No.
Yeah.
Cap. I love Frank as a character.
Yeah. I love Frank Castle. I think he may be the greatest anti-hero ever.
Oh, absolutely. In comics.
I just love the complexity of him, and and for in a world, I think in a world where you're dealing with the violent criminals, I think they need a boogeyman, and he's a boogeyman.
Oh yeah. His name is absolutely spoken in whispers.
Yeah.
Among the criminal community. So. And he's just an amazing character. When he first appeared, though, he was a little nutty.
Yeah, he was. Absolutely.
He was a little psychotic, but I'm glad they tamed him out as time went by, and they decided, well, this guy would be a great hero for us to use instead of just making him a one-trick pony villain, which he very well could have turned into.
He's still psychotic, but he is just so
he's on his meds.
So complex, though. Such a complex, multi-layered character.
He is. He really is. And you're right. It has to be during Vietnam.
Yep.
He has to have been a Vietnam vet for him to really work, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But they're going to have to change it.
Well, they have. They've made him Afghanistan or Iraq and all. Yeah, and they have to because of time. But it's just.
It just doesn't work as well. I mean, those wars, while they were wars and they were horrible, and
yes, they were.
We had to do. They were not on par with the horrors that the soldiers that went to Vietnam had to face every waking moment they were in country.
And when they came home.
And when they came home.
When they
Absolutely.
came home. That to me is the most part.
Absolutely.
When
and
they
their
came
government
home.
betrayed them.
Yep.
You know, they just left them out there just with nothing.
Yep.
But
I agree.
Herein lies the fundamental problem with legacy characters, right? Because they're all created in a time and a space, and
Right.
as society advances and moves further away from that space, people can't appreciate the character because they don't get the backdrop the character was created. I say that all the time about the Fantastic Four, right? The Fantastic Four was created in the midst of the U.S. space race, right?
Yes.
With Russia,
Yes.
and in what we also call is the age of exploration. We're exploring space. Jacques Cousteau is exploring the oceans, right? And so this age of exploration really seats inside of the Fantastic Four and what was going on in society now. I mean, at that time, today's youth, we don't send space shuttles up anymore, right? And so.
Right.
And so the age of exploration, as it was, that drove the popularity of that book within the culture is gone. Frank being driven, a character rooted in Vietnam as a Vietnam vet and experience of the Vietnam War, right, is becoming outmoded in the younger generations. And Marvel hasn't been able to successfully transition him, right, to something that's it's relevant for us, not necessarily relevant for today's kid that sees war in a different light and as because of where society is, right? And I'm not saying that's an easy transition. I think it's difficult. I think
it's not easy.
Right.
The last one they tried failed miserably, and that was the introduction of the Beast, right? The whole Beast storyline, and they didn't gain the youthful readers that they were looking for with that storyline, and they lost a lot of the classic readers. Like, this is just not my Frank Castle, right?
Yeah, that run was bullshit.
Yeah.
And I loved him as Frankencastle.
I did not like Frank.
I know you hated it, and I loved it.
I had to walk away. Yeah, Frank.
They made him an angel. They made him a monster. They made him a spooky ninja, whatever. I've said it before. I would accept them. The only power I would accept him having would be for him to have a healing factor, very much like the one that Wolverine had when he first started, where like you could kill him, and if he got hurt,
that's a slippery slope.
He would be sidelined long enough, but something just enough to explain legitimately how this guy is still alive and operating.
But that's a slippery slope, man. Once you do that, he ends up in 20 years with the same, powers as Wolverine. It
was cool when it was cool when they, for a little while, when they gave him the War Machine armor.
That was fun.
Yeah,
because that made sense for him. He looks at it as like, this is just a bigger gun.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's a walking tank.
My favorite Punisher story in recent years, and it was goofy, and it was over the top, and it was bloody, was during the War of the Realms story arc, Punisher Kill Crew.
Yes.
Punisher running around Asgard, shanking and blowing away gods. That
really?
Oh yeah. It was hilarious.
That's awesome.
In a van. They had a van.
Yeah.
They had a van.
It was Punisher. Who was it? Juggernaut. Punisher, Juggernaut, Foggy from the Daredevil, and someone else was there.
Foggy Nelson.
Yeah. Who just gets caught up in this mess.
That poor guy.
And so War of the Realms is over, and there are kids that are having nightmares because of the things they saw in War of the Realms. And Punisher's like, man, we're gonna go kill all these monsters that tormented these kids during War of the Realms. Where are these monsters? Yeah. They're in Asgard, right?
Let's go get them.
Let's go get them. Right, that's it.
That's awesome.
And
that was badass.
That's fun.
Juggernaut sees Frank gutting a god and vomits. Like, oh my god! It's aloof. It's hilarious. It's fun, and it's still a pure Punisher book. Right.
And that's why I think Garth Ennis is the best writer, because Ennis can balance the violence and the darkness of it with the comedy that comes from the absurdity of the extreme violence and darkness of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, Punisher Kill Crew, that was it.
Yep.
Yep.
All
That's
right,
awesome. I've got to read that.
Yeah.
I really
we're gonna move on to my number 6 pick, which won't need much to talk about because it's a repeat. We've already talked about him, and that is my favorite X-Men character, Colossus.
There you go.
Colossus.
Love it.
Look, like I said, we don't have to say much. We already pretty much covered it. I like that was mentioned before. He's got the soul of a poet, but he's got the power set of a gladiator, of a warrior, and he's kind of forced into that. And you talk about a guy that's been given a raw deal over the years between, losing his faith and going to the Acolytes and, with Ileana, and he said the character assassination where they haven't really seemed to know what to do with him the past couple of years. Die? Yeah. And they killed him. And, what?
Didn't his brother die?
Yes.
Was it Michael?
Mikhail?
Yeah.
And and him dying, though, the way that Joss Whedon brought him back was those couple issues after he brought him back were just badass. And and Kitty leaving him at the altar, and my man just can't seem to catch a break.
I always thought when I was younger, man, I thought they were meant to be. I thought this was going to happen. One day these two are going to get married.
And maybe they still will. It's comics, so who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
age difference though, pretty questionable now.
Yeah.
I mean, he was 18, and what was she, 13?
13.
When she first got into the X-Men. But nothing went on until she got older.
That's right.
But she had a crush on him, which I thought was great. I thought it was cute as heck. She's just always, he's so hunky.
So we're going to go on to Tone's number 5 pick, which stylistically shares some similarities with Colossus look, and there's a character that's been brought up in the chat by several people so far, and that is
there you go.
There we go.
The artwork from the awesome NES Silver Surfer video game.
Yes,
that is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So as I was looking,
I love that game, by the way.
Right.
Me too.
So as I was looking for images, so number one, I have to say, there's something that for me when it comes to the Surfer has always been romantic in the classic sense, the classical sense of being romantic. I think he's Marvel's premier, if not in modern sense, only true majestic character, right? And so he's the perfect embodiment of this kind of loneliness mixed with this detachment, right? And you just want to reach out and give him a hug, right? And I always love as when they explore his growing connection to humanity. It's what makes the character shine. Pause. This image in particular, I went with because one of the things I've always loved is he's the Silver Surfer, ergo motion, fluidity, right? And so a lot of Silver classic art is very static, and I feel like it's very much like the Flash, right?
Mm-hmm.
Only a few key artists have really been able to capture the true sense of motion of the Silver Surfer. The same way you could draw the Flash, but if you can't draw motion, you're going to struggle with the Flash, right? You can't draw the Surfer going through space and have it look static, right? And so I love this image because I feel like he's really on a surfboard and really moving through space here. And there's only a handful of true scenes, or even when he's like a surfer sitting on a board, occasionally it's him sitting on the board in space, and that resonates with me also. But I digress. I've loved him since the Fantastic Four. That's what I grew up reading, and so and it hasn't made a difference which run it was. When the Surfer shows up, I'm buying it. That's the fine. If there's a variant cover with him on it, I'm buying it. And even the more recent things like the Silver Surfer Black series, right, where they're getting away kind of from his look. You say associated his look chromatically in design with Colossus. I always put it close to Iceman, right? And I'm kind of like, what is it about these characters? Their design is so similar that I resonate with. But Norrin Rad is so. And give me a second. I just I put a note to it here.
Well, I'll say this while you're looking at your note. Kirby, I think I don't know for certain, but I get the feeling this was one of Kirby's favorite creations, because I read somewhere that when they gave him his own solo book, Kirby was upset that he wasn't the artist on it, because he just expected this is my character, I'm gonna write and draw it. And it was right after that he left Marvel to go to DC.
It's the note. Yep, very great point. The point that I took a note on was regarding the concept of soul, right? And the things that the Surfer struggled with when he's written the best, he's almost soulful what he's wrestling with, right?
Yeah.
And so and that's why I love him. There's a place of serenity and peace, right, that belies the great power that he has, right, which originally was 1/3 the power of Galactus, right? And so that's why he's on my list. He shows up, I buy him. He's gorgeous, he's beautiful, he's romantic. That's my guy.
He's a great character. There's so many good space operas he's been involved in too.
There's a great issue of
Marvel's history.
There's a great issue of What If that was like, what if he stayed on Earth, and at the end of the issue, spoiler if you haven't read this book that came out 40 years ago, at the end of the issue, he ends up kind of sacrificing himself to go to hell, and Mephisto is like, oh, I finally got you. But he's such a noble character that when he goes into hell and is there with Mephisto, he's torturing them because he's just glowing with this, with this pure light that's tormenting everyone in hell because of it.
Yeah.
Another great character born out of sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
He sacrifices himself to save his world, and his love. Yeah.
Shalabah.
Mm-hmm. Well, that gets to Tone's point. Romantic. It is. He's a romantic
Very
character.
romantic. Very romantic.
So I think that was a great aspect for you to point out, Tone.
And that NES game was great.
That was a fun ass game.
All right, we're going to move on to Gary's number 5 pick, and of course, we got to take it back to the X-Men.
Did we switching? Okay, well, did we miss Chris? All right, but we'll go.
We did. I'll go back to Chris.
Well, we can go. All right, here we go. Wolverine. I love that John Byrne image of him. I love that. I did dig that costume a lot.
His best costume.
Wolverine.
100.
Best he is at what he does.
And it's not very nice.
That's right. What a great character. And
one of the best.
This is another character that really grew a whole lot, because when he was first created, it was either going to be him or Thunderbird. One reason why Thunderbird was killed was because he and Wolverine were redundant. Both tough guys, both could take a beating. Both
similar powers.
Trackers.
Both had attitudes.
Both had attitudes. So they were very similar characters. So Thunderbird is the one that got the axe, but Wolverine was a one-note character for quite a while. And what changed was, I believe it was X-Men 129, the Dark Phoenix saga part of it, where he was into the sewers and you thought Leland had drowned him. And the last page, he comes back up and he says, all right, suckers, you took your best shot. Now it's my turn. I remember I picked this up at the stands. I was reading this and I was like, oh my God. And I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait for the next issue to come out. And the next issue is when he ran through and cut up slicing and dicing through the Hellfire Club. And it was just amazing. Those two books made Wolverine a star.
Yeah.
And then his star ascended, and it has not descended ever since. What a great character. I love that he's Canadian. I love the claws, the adamantium. Yeah. Like Dan said, it's a shame they gave away his, they told his total backstory. All we needed to know was the Weapon X stuff. We didn't need to know who he was before. It's kind of like what makes the Joker so great. We don't know. You don't know what the Joker's origin is. Yeah. Never tell us.
That's why he's so awesome. Even
when they did the 3 Joker storyline, you got different versions. And like we talked about in the movie with Heath Ledger, you want to know how I got these scars? He's giving you a different story every time. We love that. You don't know. So Wolverine, I loved when his origin was shrouded in mystery, and it's just such a great character, and one that's got a code about him. And, and he can be just as much of a killer as Castle can be. without a doubt. Like you said, some people just need killing, and he will gladly do that. But he will protect the innocent. He will protect.
Has a nobility about him.
There is a nobility. There's a nobility. He is a samurai.
Yes, he is.
And he has the samurai code, and that's what he lives with, and that's who he is. And this is one of the greatest comic characters ever created.
Ever.
There's a line
Absolutely.
in one of those early X-Men issues. I think it's the one where Alpha Flight gets introduced, where they're going on a picnic and he goes, "Oh, I'm going to go too. I want to do some hunting." And Sam kind of dresses him down like, you're going to kill a defenseless thing like that. And he says like, he's like, "No, I said hunting, where you are quiet and you could sneak up on the deer and you get right there and then you tap them." He's like, "I didn't say anything about killing any, he's like, any idiot can do that. What I'm talking about is doing this." And then she goes, "Oh, wow." And that's, where you really start to, I think that's the part where you really start to see this other side of his character, that he's not just this violent, animal, that, he actually does have it, maybe a sense of morality isn't the right way to phrase it with that, but that he's not just, "Oh, I'm going to go out there and wantonly kill anybody."
He's noble.
Yes, he is noble. And how cool
has your reaction too,
When
like, "Oh man, I didn't know that." And he's like, "Why would you?"
Yeah.
I was going to mention, and pardon me, Gary, but I was going to mention that issue too. That was issue 109.
Yes.
Of the X-Men. That was the first X-Men comic I ever bought. And it was also the comic that when I got it to the car, my sister ripped a cover off of.
Oh.
So that's burnt into my memory. But seeing Wolverine for the first time there, especially that scene that you're talking about, really, 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 really kind of made him a different kind of character. Made him special. And it seems like that may have been where that, and having read the other books since, they were building him up. Claremont had definite plans for him, to be an awesome character.
Well, again, just mention the patch stories. They were great, but he's a samurai. He's got all these other things about, and then you get wrinkles where think how cool it was when we thought we knew everything about Wolverine, and they sucked the adamantium out of him, and when he was recovering, he pops bone claws.
Yeah.
How awesome was that?
That surprised me.
Yeah.
That was
much more awesome than when they took his nose away.
Wolverine was the worst.
When he popped the bone claws, that was so freaking cool.
I actually was like, "What?"
Yeah, I remember that. And like a little butterfly or something comes and lands on one of them.
Yeah. So just a great character. Love this character, and and we've been treated to a great Wolverine with Hugh Jackman.
He's fantastic.
That has taken it to another level.
Yeah,
he really has.
All right, so since I mistakenly skipped over Chris, we'll go on to him with his number 5 pick.
Oh, great!
Green Machine.
I hated leaving him off my list. It hurt.
This is another one of those characters that I read in those books growing up. I loved Bruce. What did it say? I didn't.
He said, "Did your sister make the ride home? Did she live to make the ride home?"
It was close. I was very young.
You can go.
She was a little older than me, and she would have probably beat my ass. I did tell my mom, and my mom only gave her a stern talking to, which pissed me off. I was like, "Come on, she should at least be drawn and quartered."
Yeah,
you just gonna tell her she's bad? I want a pound of flesh. I love and that segues into this. I was very small when I was little, and the Hulk I was always attracted to that character because of his ability to just lose his freaking mind. And when he did, look out, he went from a small, mild-mannered scientist into a green beast.
What was it? Tony Stark says to him in Avengers when he goes, "Oh, I loved your paper on blah blah blah, some scientific thing," and I love how you turn into a big giant green rage monster.
Absolutely. I just love the character. I mean, just the idea, and he's tragic. I mean,
Yep.
God.
Yeah, it's a Jekyll and Hyde thing.
He's absolutely Jekyll and Hyde. The Hulk is a horror story.
Yeah.
It's horror.
The whole tragedy of his character is also very interesting. And I'm a big horror fan, especially old Universal movies. And Frankenstein Monsters is probably one of my favorite horror characters. And he reminds me of him, a big, giant, green, misunderstood monster.
Mm-hmm.
And we all kind of feel that way, don't we? Sometimes.
Yep. I think so.
Mm-hmm.
And he's id run wild.
Yeah.
He's your id that's just run wild. The complexity of the character, and there's been so many cool iterations of this character. First issue he's gray, then he's green, then he's stupid Hulk, and then Peter David wrote the really smart Hulk, and then somebody mentioned Maestro, which is a really cool future Hulk.
Just so cool,
evil as hell, and the
Mr. Fix-It.
Mr. Fix-It. I love Mr.
Yeah.
Fix-It.
Old
Mr.
Man Logan
Fix-It.
Hulk.
Yeah, Old Man Logan. But yeah, the Mr. Fix-It Hulk, I love.
Mr. Fix-It Hulk was so cool.
Oh, I love that. There was a great recent Mr. Fix-It miniseries where he's beating the shit out of the Kingpin, and the Spider-Man's there watching, and Spider-Man's going, best day ever. Because he's just loving to see Mr. Fix-It beat the Kingpin's ass.
It's awesome.
I mean, it's the Hulk dressed like an old 30s gangster.
It's fantastic.
Cool.
I love it. It's silly.
It shouldn't work, but it does.
It's just fun. But because of the way the character is, and he has these transformations, and the way he's always fighting with Banner and with the split personalities, you can do this. You can play this game. And then when Ewing took over and took over the Incredible Hulk and made it a horror book again,
a true horror book.
Phenomenal art. Phenomenal heart. And then what Philip Kennedy Johnson has done the past few years on this character is amazing. And it's a horror book again. So kudos for where the Hulk is. But the Hulk is a character because of these multiple personalities that he can have, and you can play with him and still stay true to the character, because the character is Banner and what he is transformed into. And the conflict between Banner and the Hulk, I always find fascinating.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a bit of Hulk in all of us. We have all wanted to Hulk out and just like destroy a building because someone pissed you off one day, But our better natures hopefully prevail, and we don't go to jail.
The nighttime is his time, right? For anyone who doesn't know,
that used to be what transformed the Hulk.
That's right.
It wasn't rage. It was the moon.
That's right.
Yeah.
He was a werewolf.
Yeah, just an awesome, fascinating character.
Big green one.
Another Stanley special.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you talk about a character that's got a lot of different versions or a lot of personalities to him. That fits in with my number 5 pick, which is.
There you go.
Best character. I love his character design. Is that a Finch?
Yeah, that's when Finch was the artist on it.
So good.
Another character that just barely missed my list.
There was what McKay has done with him the past couple of years is just spectacular. But there's one line in it that really, is really great, where he's talking to these villains, and he tells them, he's like, do you think you know what I'm going to do next? I don't even know what I'm going to do next, because he's just crazy personified. And he had these at first, he had these alternate takes. There was Mark Spector, and then he was Moon Knight, and then he created Jake Loxley, and he created Stephen Grant. But it wasn't multiple personalities at first. It was just different identities, where he's like, all right, I'm going to be Jake Loxley, and I'll be able to kind of be a cabbie and get some information that way, like the way Bruce Wayne has
like Batman does.
Yeah. And then he's like, I got Stephen Grant, where I can get information this way. And then over time it turned into this multiple personality thing, and then the stuff with the Egyptian god, and and what McKay's done with him with protecting travelers of the night, and where he's said he wears white because he wants the enemy to see him coming at him, and just the brutality of of the character, and for a character that actually makes sense, that when he dies you could just bring him back whenever, because that's the origin of the character. He died and was brought back by this Egyptian god to basically spread his name through violence, and he's all about resurrection. So just to me, just a super cool character, and I'm glad that he's kind of had this this renaissance the past 4 or 5 years, and that he's been a successful character.
Yeah, I think Jed McKay has done a lot to make Moon Knight relevant in the modern sense, and he did the same thing with Black Cat, by the way.
Oh yeah,
and he's been red hot, and this book is kind of the center of that heat. Everything he's done with Moon Knight, and that's not to say the Fraction run, some of the other runs weren't good, weren't interesting, but there's been no host. I love there was an issue of Moon Knight not too long ago where someone is trying to recruit Taskmaster to work for them.
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, you want to and he's like, yeah, it's going to be Moon Knight. He's like, Moon Knight, you mean Mark Spector, right? Now I don't want this job. Nope, right? I don't
Nope.
I don't want Taskmaster. Is like, I don't need those kind of problems in my life. You gotta leave him alone too, right? If you know what's good for you. And so either way, I love visually how they display Moon Knight now. Just to be transparent, that's why he didn't make my list, by the way. I didn't have legacy love for this character. I have kind of more of a modern sense of love, kind of the past eight years roughly for Moon Knight. And but I used to just take him as another Marvel Batman light variant.
Yeah.
Right? And
which he kind of was.
And so there was not much difference between Moon Knight to me and Image's Shadowhawk, right? Okay, another Batman-like character. And as a Batman fan, I don't need to read the copies. I can read the original. That's the way I took it. And it wasn't until the McKay run started that I started reading it, and I loved it. And then I went back and read some of the older work and fell in love with the character. So great pull.
Yeah, that one shot from was it the Devil's Reign storyline, when he intentionally got himself, that someone came. It was Man Mountain Marco's wife came to him and was saying, like, I'm really scared of what's going to happen.
That was my stripper name.
Man Mountain Marco. Because he's abusive toward me, and I'm scared. And Moon Knight's like, I'm going to take care of this for you. And and that's when they had outlawed. Kingpin was mayor and outlawed heroes in New York, and he intentionally got himself arrested and put in jail, and then worked his way through this like fight club that was going on in the jail that was sanctioned by the guards because they would bet on it and stuff, till he could get to Man Mountain Marco, and then told he's like, yeah. And they're thinking, oh, you're not going to be able to do anything against him. And then that's when he reveals, like, I let myself get captured so I can get in here, so I could get to you, and just beat him within an inch of his life, literally blinded him, and was telling him, you go, I forget what his wife's name was. He's like, but you go near her again, and I'll, and you'll be seeing me again. Well, maybe not seeing me. But yeah.
He got in there and he's like, I just came in here just to tell you that your student loans are due.
Well, Booge, it's funny you mentioned the Punisher, because there was that issue of the Punisher when Night Thrasher recruits a couple characters to help him, and Moon Knight's one of them. And there's this great panel or two where Moon Knight and Punisher are talking to each other, and Punisher looks at him and goes, hey, Mark, still, he's like, hey, still crazy? And he goes, yeah, you still an asshole? He goes, yeah, how's your moon god going? He's like, I don't know, how's your dead family doing?
Oh, wrong.
Oh, damn.
Um,
Damn. Someone in the background did that. They went, damn.
Have you not seen that panel, Chris?
No.
I'll have to find that panel and send it to you. I think there's all the great Moon Knight memes now where they like take the panels of them and change the dialogue. You know, where he's going like, Dracula, you crazy son of a bitch, you owe me $5. He's like, Chris.
There's one with Spider-Man too. I love that's also reminiscent of this. I guess they're all standing around. They're about to fight someone, and Moon Knight comes out of one of his stupors, and he's like, "What the hell is going on?"
Oh yeah.
And Spider-Man and Peter's like, "Hey, you just getting back?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "What's happening?" He's like, "Don't worry about it. Just punch you. I'll punch in a minute, right?" and Spectre's like, "Okay, great." And so I just love the way they do Moon Knight's character now. I really
It's
do.
awesome.
All right,
Awesome.
we're gonna
I would
go.
love to see him as a, and I think I've said this to Dan or Gary before. I would love to see him as a supernatural hunter. You know,
Well,
I'd
that's what
love
he
to see
started
him
out
fight.
as, yeah.
I'd love to see him fight. You know, vampires, werewolves, zombies,
well, that's what he started out as.
travel around. Yeah, I'd like to see that more.
All right,
That
well,
would be cool.
we're gonna take a trip back to the
You're like
X-Men
monsters.
universe here with Tone's number 4 pick.
I have great love for number 4.
Yeah.
Wow, Cable.
Right. And I want to give a quick shout out to this
Table on the table.
to Rob Liefeld. It's hard to introduce new characters that stick. A lot of characters get created, they don't necessarily pop, even if they get pushed, and they're just kind of set on the shelf until somebody gets a new idea and comes along with them. And when I think if you look at the whole X-Men mythology, the late 90s, the end of X-Force, I should say the late 80s, the end of X-Force, the end of New Mutants and the introduction of X-Force, was it New Mutants number 87 when he's introduced, when Cable is
Yeah,
introduced.
Liz.
Storm is great.
For me,
Love her.
I love the design. I love the backstory. I love the connectivity to what already existed in the X universe.
Yeah.
I love for me, and when he first started, remember the whole thing of X-Force was proactive superheroing in the mutant community, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of saw Cable as what I thought was going to be the Punisher for mutants, right? I'm here to take out all of these groups that want to kill mutants, right? And I'm not Xavier. I'm not about mutant supremacy like Magneto. I am not Xavier. I'm not looking for a peaceful place with humanity, right? I'm here to wipe out, to destroy the threats that target this community, and I've got a team of young hitters prepared to do it. And I think that's the form Cable worked best. That didn't quite manifest him being the mutant Punisher, but I watched him grow across the next decade into his own character and its own place and its own piece, and I just love it. I also love the concept of great power restrained, right? And the concept, a couple of years after he created, they said, and this is when, you know, you've got the different variants of Cable, right? So you have Strife out there, you have Nate Gray out there, right? They were saying back then that Cable was telepathically strong enough to sense a stray thought a continent away, right? And telekinetically strong enough to snuff out a star in another solar system. But all of that power being completely restrained by the techno-organic virus that's in him.
Yeah, him having to focus it on. So
exactly. And I love the concept of great power, but also restrained. And by the way, great power, but I will learn to be the weapon myself, not rely on the power. And that has a Batman theme to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so there's nothing about Cable, whether it's design, whether it's backstory, whether it's character growth. I think that character growth kind of tapered off a little bit once you got to the early 2000s and he just showed up to shoot things. But right on cue, they introduced Hope and then made him into a father figure, right? And so and he gets the opportunity to be the father protecting his child that his dad never got to be with him, right? And
Good point.
And so I just love everything about Cable, and so that's why he's my pick.
You know, and you mentioned Rob Liefeld creating. Rob Liefeld loved creating him so much that he just went on to create him again and again and again and again.
Look at them pouches.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, big guns.
Big guns,
You got to have a lot of ammo, right?
big guns, big pouches.
Mhm.
We cannot act like it was the late 80s, early 90s
Mhm.
thing. It fit the attitude of our generation.
Yeah.
It did.
It was
It
a
did.
thing, and I say this a lot. As much as I sometimes disrespect Rob Liefeld, and it's a lot. He can't draw feet. His art style definitely influenced, and you can't take this away from him, an entire generation of artists that were around in the 90s.
It did.
Yeah.
So, you've got to give that to him. I can't take that away from him.
Yeah.
Guys like him and McFarlane and
there are not many artists
Restream and
there are not many creators that can pull out I created Cable and Deadpool characters of
true.
if you're not talking about kind of the legends of Marvel, right? 1960s and 70s Marvel, that there are not many people that can say they created characters that are still relevant and pivotal, right? Issue to issue today, right? And Rob's got two.
Yep, he does.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
he did.
Going back to one of those for Chris's number 4 pick, one of those old characters that are still around today, be the final one of us to pick him.
There you go.
One character that made everyone's list.
I love him. I just love him. And I love Stan Lee said the reason his costume is the way it is with the full mask and everything is so that anyone could be Spider-Man.
Like
I always thought that was beautiful. I always saw myself swinging on that web, just out there kicking butt,
You're nowhere near that flexible.
And then when he had his bad luck times, I pretended it was someone else.
There you go.
But yeah, he's just a wonderful character. I think we've said more than anyone could say about him. I mean, he's fantastic.
That's a great picture.
And he is New York.
Yeah.
Again,
and that's another thing.
That's great.
That's another thing. Growing up reading these books that were all centered in New York, when I finally visited New York, I was so happy to just see it, be witness to what these guys were actually drawing, on a daily basis. And that I was reading every month, it was fantastic. So first thing I did when I got there was I got a big ass hot dog from a vendor.
Think how different Marvel Comics would be if the old Marvel Comics office was based in Orlando instead of New York.
Yeah.
No bueno.
Well, we're going to go to Gary's number 4 pick.
There you go, baby. Let's go back.
Man.
Let's go back to 1941.
Oh,
Captain America.
the legend.
Yep, one of the most iconic heroes ever created.
That is gorgeous.
Yeah, it's Alex Ross.
That is a gorgeous pick.
Yeah,
that is beautiful. Look how stark white that white is.
I know, and the shield, the flag.
Wow.
Boosh, Ben Grimm, good choice.
That crimson red. That's amazing.
The Cap, Sentinel of Liberty. Dan always says, his first issue, his debut, he's punching Hitler. Can't get any better than that for your debut. Yeah. And just wonderful creation by Kirby and Simon, and Steve Rogers, Man Out of Time. I loved how they brought him back, and the Avengers thawed him out of the ice. And here he's a man out of time, a walking anachronism, and it's just what a great costume, what a great character, and another one that's been really well served with the Avengers movies. With Chris Evans's take on the character has been
Absolutely.
Just fantastic.
Yeah,
and it's just timeless. He is a timeless character, and he wears the red, white, and blue, and if you can't look at this character and not feel a surge of patriotism, then something wrong with you, baby. this is apple pie and 4th of July fireworks and a grand old flag all wrapped up into a superhero that
and the true belief in the American dream that
True belief.
everyone can achieve it.
That's right. And that's why it was so poignant when he fell out of that belief and he became nomad, because he didn't have belief in it anymore, and he became nomad for a while. But it's just
fascinating character,
great character in whatever iteration we have. And you know what? Such a cool character that when Steve passes the mantle on to Sam Wilson, it's so powerful, so poignant. You know, when he gives him the shield, you know,
it's huge.
It's just amazing. And for Sam to take that, knowing what the mantle is, Captain America, you know,
that's a big deal, man.
It is a big deal. And Sam Wilson is a very admirable Captain America. He's great Captain America. So I just love the concept of this guy. I love the character.
Fantastic.
But I went old school, you know, I went with the OG and put Steve Rogers in there. But you know, it's just a great character who will stand the test of time and is one of the most recognizable superheroes in the entire world.
And think about it, that great costume design. We're over 80 years of him being around, and it's the same basic design. You know, they might change change the way they draw the boots or like little tweaks here and there, but it's the same basic design for characters like him, for Spider-Man,
Superman.
Yeah, that's when you get these classic designs that really stand the test of time.
Absolutely.
I mean, he's imprinted on our brains from the 70s, man. He was all over Marvel advertising. Mm-hmm. You know, him, Spider-Man, the Hulk. I mean, those guys were the big ones. And I remember you were talking about when the Avengers thawed him out of the ice. I remember watching that over and over again, and I still watch it on the 60s, the late 60s Captain America cartoon. It was phenomenal.
And when Captain America throws his might,
yes, that's the one.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That was great. I loved the art in that. It was like Kirby art, wasn't it? And then they would just move it.
They hardly moved.
Yeah, they would just move it a little.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was.
We're gonna go to my number 4 pick. It's a different character, but it does happen to be art by Alex Ross, and that is Daredevil.
There you go. Great character.
Man without fear. You know,
he's happy to see you. Is
that
a pack of shirts in your pocket, sir?
Yeah.
He's about to enjoy what's happening.
Is that your Billy Club?
That's his third club, buddy.
We've had different versions of this character. We've had him where he's dark and brooding, which is what we've had for a while now. We've had him where he's happy-go-lucky and fun. You know, you talk about characters that can work their way around women. For a blind guy, he seems to do pretty good.
Yeah, he does all right, doesn't he?
But when they introduce the aspect of him, of him being religious, which we just take for granted now, but that was not something that was there for the first couple of decades he was around.
Yeah.
But when they introduced it to him, it made it really interesting that he is does have this religious side to him, but also dresses up like the devil and goes out and beats people up, and then the fact that he's a vigilante, but he's also a lawyer, and he has this very deep belief in the law, is really good. I wish that's something that they would get back to, with him being able to be a lawyer again. Maybe with the new series, we'll see, but yeah, just love the character.
Didn't he?
Yeah. When Marvel Knights, when they canceled Daredevil's original book and they relaunched it on Marvel Knights, Kevin Smith wrote it, and Quesada and Palmiotti did the art on it. And
I love the Catholic guilt.
Yeah,
fantastic guilt he has.
Yes.
And look, like Dan said, it was a couple years ago. He was banging a married chick in the Marvel universe. So so he's got a lot to confess.
You know what it is? He's got that super sense of touch.
Well, there you go. But it's also great that he's he is a man of faith. He is very religious, and he dresses up like a devil. So which is another great dichotomy. with this character. The
I love
devil
it.
of Hell's Kitchen, is a Catholic struggling with his faith.
Just a fascinating character.
Yeah.
And the origin that they had for him too, where his mom left to go become a nun, and his dad was this down on his luck boxer that did his best, tried to do his best for him, and and instilled this kind of this sense of never give up in him. Yeah.
Battling Jack.
Yeah, Battling Jack Murdoch. And I know it gets a lot of hate, but the Affleck film, the director's cut,
is much better.
It's actually quite good. I enjoyed it.
If they would have taken out the stupid playground fight scene, it would have been much better.
Yeah, that was all over the top.
But in that, in the director's cut, like when they're on the roof and he hears the woman scream and Elektra says, "Stay with me," where in the theatrical one he does, in the director's cut, he leaves. He goes to help the woman, and the director's cut's much better.
And I had Coolio in there as one of the Murdoch's clients.
The client that's being like railroaded by King.
Yeah, he's being railroaded, and Matt knows. I mean, it's a nice sidebar.
So what you did there, sidebar.
It's a nice sidebar. It's a nice side story that I think they should have left in. I think they shouldn't have monkeyed with that film at all. They should have left it.
They should have left that in, because in the theatrical cut, you're told that Kingpin is someone to be feared, but you're not really showing it until the end. In the director's cut, you see the stuff that he does.
And Michael Clark Duncan as a Kingpin was
great
stroke of genius.
Great choice.
He was so formidable. He was so scary. He's so big. Oh, it's so good. I love that. And then he's like, he really gets him. He's like, I'm going to tell, what's it going to be like when I tell the guys at Rikers that you got beat by a blind man?
Yeah.
It'll be like blood in the water.
All right, we are hitting.
I got to watch that movie again.
Well, now we are hitting the top three. We're going with Tone's number 3 pick. Surprise, surprise. We're taking it back to the X universe with Jamie's all-time favorite character, favorite X-Man.
I am saying like son, like father, right? Scott Summers Cyclops is one of my all-time favorite characters. And
he is a character that Marvel has done dirty multiple times.
Yeah, they done him so dirty.
I love modern Scott much more than classic Scott.
Wow.
Because classic Scott, who I enjoyed and loved, I've always loved Scott Summers. But I have a good friend, shout out to Ron G, right, who back in 1995 called him Captain America Light, right? He was Captain America for mutants, all right? And that was the entire embodiment of Scott's persona at that time, right? He fought as Xavier told them to do. He took care of the things in the field, right? So on and so on, yada, yada, yada. That was fine, right? And I enjoyed it and I appreciate it. But I love growth and maturation in characters, even when it's difficult, even when it's ugly. And I also love a perfect character, right? Scott's not a perfect man. Scott makes mistakes. Scott screws up, right? We get to see that, especially in his love life and his love choices, right? But
he's got a weakness for redheads.
Right?
Who doesn't?
But the concept that Scott grows beyond the management and control of Xavier, I utterly love. I love that Scott is more of a purist for standing up and fighting for mutants directly than Xavier himself is, right?
Yeah.
And I love that Scott grew to a point where he looked at the realities of the world and said, I can't always be fixated on Xavier's dream because we are beset. And who's the guy that leads them past the Wanda No More Mutants? Who leads them through that era? Scott. Who's the guy that calls out Xavier and boots him out the mansion for manipulating the X-Men? That's why they're always so compliant to him, calling Xavier out on his God complex. It's Scott, right?
Yep.
Who's the guy that looks at Captain America and calls Steve Rogers BS, right, on rights when they show up to try to take Hope from the X-Men, right? Like your desire for her rights as a member of your nation aren't transcended by the world. We don't care about law and we need to take her now. And Scott's like, no, she's a citizen of our country here, and you can't just take her, right? I love what Scott grew into.
Yes.
And I mentioned this with the Bobby Drake, where they have that edge that they wrote into him in the Krakoa series, where he was with the Kitty Pirates. I forget the name of it, but where they write the edge. What's that?
Marauders. That was the
Marauders. Yeah, where they write that. They wrote that edge in the X-Men, where Bobby was a little acidic, like, hey, I've been doing this since I was a teenager. That is magnified 1,000 times by Scott, right?
He was the first,
right?
Yeah.
And the first X-Men, and there's no greater warrior and staunch defender at violence, if necessary, than Scott Summers. Let's not forget, he's also the one that looked at Xavier's methodology, looked at Magneto's methodology, and said, I need to find a way to marry these two because I'm dealing with both things in this world, right? So he becomes at that moment the quintessential mutant leader. So at the same time where he's trying to carve out a school again where kids can live safe, he recommissions Wolverine to lead X-Force, right, as a hit squad, an outright hit squad to go take down people, these organizations that want to kill mutants. Love everything about Scott Summers. I love the fact and things that people hated about him, keeping Boot and Shields Batooty, right, when he was on the run with his Uncanny X-Men. Him revealing afterward that he's not a villain, right? But no matter what they've done, they killed him. Even in the most recent Krakoa era, when he gets captured by Orcus and they've sewn his eyes shut, and he's still you, right? I'm Scott Summers. I'm a mutant, and we're going to deal with you. I just love everything about Scott Summers. The strength they've written into the character and the flaws they've written into the character. They make him pop for me.
He's mad as hell, and he's not going to take it anymore.
I have to agree. I've always been a Scott Summers fan, and I really hated it when they started kind of knocking on him. I heard a lot of people knock on him all the time, and I'm like, he's a great character. It's like, it's like people hating Nickelback. He became popular to hate. And
I could say I've always hated Nickelback since they first appeared.
Well, there you go. But not a lot of people can say that. I can't. I actually enjoy Nickelback's music. I said it publicly.
I'm with you, right? Amongst other things.
But he's a great character. He's always been a great character, and you're absolutely right. He marries the personality of both of his fathers, Magneto and Xavier. I mean, and I say that because he's encountered Magneto so often that I'm sure he's questioned his mission with Xavier, and the way that he did things, and I love it. I think he's great.
Scott's Uncanny X-Men run. When I love in Scott's Uncanny X-Men run when Magneto shows up at the mansion. I mean, at the hideout, and Scott's ready to fight. Like, what do you want? And Magneto's here. I'm not here to fight. I'm here to work with you. I'm here to power you. And Magneto shares that, hey, you guys were teenagers. Did you really think I couldn't have killed you back then? I didn't kill you because you were mutants, right? You're my people, right? And while me and Charles have our differences, I helped Charles find you. Why would I in turn kill you, right? And Scott's like, then why are you here? And he says, because all I've ever wanted is for one of you to wake up, right? And see that Charles' dream is not going to cut it in a world where they're adamant we must die. And so that maturation of Scott, like, I don't have to be a genetic supremacist like Eric can be written as, right?
Yeah.
But I also don't have to be as passive as Charles.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't have to lay down and take it.
Yeah. Chef's kiss.
It's beautiful.
Summers. And I'm glad the world started turning on the recent X-Men 97 show they did Scott some of the manifestation of how he uses his power on screen. Yeah, great.
Very nice.
Very good pick too. I love him.
We're going to go with Chris's number 3 pick.
Oh,
Yeah, boy.
there you go.
It's hammer time.
Man, if I just, well, you know, I've always loved him historically. I'm a huge fan of Norse mythology, you know, Norse, Greek, Roman, any mythology. And he's just always been fascinating to me the way they write him. And I love his adventures in Asgard. He's a great character. I love watching him just whoop people's ass. You know?
Oh, when that one issue where he fights Iron Man after Civil War because he had been away and he comes back and found out what Iron Man did kind of in his name.
Oh, he's pissed.
Oh, yeah. He makes it clear. He's like, there's nothing you can do to stop me.
Yeah.
He's just fantastic. And another character that was very capably handled on screen.
Yes.
Just fantastic.
What was that? What was the
I mean,
dialogue?
look at that. And look at that design, that character design. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
As Tony's talking and the thunder is streaking across the sky as Tony's talking to Thor and Thor's just not responding to him. I'm like, oh, buddy, you're in trouble. You know,
Yeah.
And he hits Tony, and Tony says, "You've been working out." And Thor says, "No, I've just never hit you as hard as I could." Right?
Yeah, because they're wanting him, to, you know, with where Asgard was at the time, above Broxton, and you know, and Thor lets him know in no uncertain terms. He's like, "You're going to go, and you're not going to come back, and you're going to regret it if you do."
Yeah.
Thor, and you know, it's not always about fighting too. Thor, in that Punisher War Zones I talked about, when it was his turn to go after Castle, it's just immediately, bam, Castle's out. And when Castle wakes up, Thor has alcohol. He says, "Castle, we will drink." He's drinking to a warrior to warrior, man to man, saying, "I expect you to turn yourself in. This is what you're going to do, blah, blah, blah." And then he leaves. And when he reports back to Cap, "Yeah, I found him." Well, when Cap says, "Well, where is he?" He goes, "We drank." Cap's like, "Well, that's great." And of course, Castle did not turn himself in, but it's just, you know, but you know, that was his solution. They were going to drink. They were going to sort it out over mead, you know, but
and his early adventures against Loki were so fun.
Yeah.
You know, the Enchantress and Executioner, all that really early stuff was a lot of fun. And he's grown as a character too. I just love him. And, you know, he no longer has to be Dr. Blake. He's Thor.
Right. And as king, he's wiser now.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's just another great Marvel character. I mean,
yeah, it's a great pick.
Great arc, you know.
All right. So for Gary, we have your number 3 pick.
Yep. T-Bird, baby.
There he is.
I love Thunderbird.
I do too.
Love that.
He almost made my list.
Oh, I love that costume. I think it's one of the greatest character designs ever. I love that John Proudstar was an Apache warrior, another Vietnam vet.
Yes.
Another Vietnam vet, you know, served like a lot of Native Americans served. And he comes home and he's aimless. He doesn't know what he's doing. You know, the great
neck.
Yeah. Cloak and Dagger was a great pick by this. I love the fact that when Xavier finds me, he's wrestling a buffalo.
Yeah.
Right. Just to do it. And I love he calls Cyclops One Eye.
Yeah.
And he's just got such anger and such attitude. And, you know, here's a character that went off to war, disillusioned, come back, and he's angry. Yeah. And he was angry, and he did have problems. And it's a shame. I thought it was a shame that they killed him so early off, but I do understand that he and Wolverine were redundant in a lot of ways. But I always just loved Proudstar, and I love the name, John Proudstar. What a great name. There was a Fox series, The Gifted, that was on.
That was such a good series.
And there's a really cool good looking dude that played John Proudstar, and I love that they had Thunderbird in there. And I love his little brother Jimmy taking up the mantle of Warpath.
Oh, absolutely.
And it took him forever to bring John back. And he's had some limited opportunities back, and he's always pissed. He is always freaking angry.
He's always angry.
So they put him on a team with Cable recently, so maybe we'll see him again on that team. I don't know, but I love John. I wish that
he needs some therapy.
Yeah, he does need some therapy. I hope they do more with him.
Me too.
And I love that original costume. So it's a character that I don't have a lot to talk about because there hasn't been a lot with him. It's just the hope that they do something with this, what I think is a concept of a great, great character.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a fantastic character, and you know, his anger is absolutely explained by his experiences in Vietnam.
Yep.
Having to come back to a country that doesn't appreciate him, and having to live on the res where there's no work, and try to make a living. I mean,
I would have loved if they had him and Castle cross over somehow.
That would have been cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That could happen.
Yeah.
Could happen. Marvel, you listening?
Have it happen in the late 70s or.
I need to talk to Philip Kennedy Johnson. I got an idea for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Well, for my number 3 pick, got something. A character who was savage when she was introduced.
There you go.
Gotten a bit lighter over the years. My favorite female character in all of comics. Huge She-Hulk fan. And especially the way that Byrne wrote her, because up until John Byrne worked on her, she was not a super memorable character. She was what Marvel intended her to be, a character they created so that they could have the rights to the name before the TV network that was developing a Hulk spin-off show called She-Hulk. And they said, well, we got to come up with it so we have the rights. But when John Byrne got a hold of her, we used her in Fantastic Four, and especially in her own series where before Deadpool and Gwenpool and all these characters were doing it, she was the one that was breaking the fourth wall and like, hey, I'm in a comic, and there was one line where she said, oh, it's going to take me forever to get across town or traffic, or I could just walk over to the next panel and I'm already there. Just
brilliant.
Love the character. It's a character that, let's face it, it's a character that's just a female knockoff of a male character. And how many times have we seen that? A female character knockoff of someone else, or a minority character knockoff of someone else. A kid knockoff of someone, something like that. And she's one that has made her own identity. And
I would like to point out on that note, though, that's not a normal thing for Marvel. Like, she's almost isolated as a knockoff of a male character. Marvel, you have Captain Marvel, right? The original Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel, Hulk and She-Hulk. DC is far more in that place of where we create multiple, and so Marvel doesn't do it a lot. One of them failed, and that was Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel. We've seen how that's matured over the years, and one of them succeeded. And it's She-Hulk, right?
Yeah. And she's been in the Fantastic Four. She's been was a great member of that. She was, when Ben left, she was the first non-original Fantastic Four member that was on the team for an extended amount of time, filling in for him. She's been an Avenger. I like the stuff with her being a lawyer too, and especially the stuff where she defends other superpowered characters. And I love when they put the comedic aspect of her of the character in there too.
Do you think the carpet matches the drapes?
Talking about tossing that salad.
Wouldn't care at all.
I wouldn't. No, I'm not saying I'd care. I'm saying it would make it more erotic. Is what I'm saying.
I left Spider-Woman off of that list of kind of But to the point, she's just, I think, amazingly successful.
Yeah. And, and like I said, they do, there's a lot of, if you want to call them knockoff characters or kind of copy characters, where they'll have one character that is, that is just a copy of another character to make them, whether it's make them a male version of a female character, a female version of a male character, a minority version of a character, a child version of an adult character, and an alien version of a character, something like that. And most of them don't break out of being that. And she's a character that has broken out of just being a female Hulk.
And that being said, Jessica Drew's Spider-Woman was only a knockoff in name only.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I thought she was a very good, well thought out character, and I wish that she had more popularity. Her book was really, really good.
Agreed.
So,
Agreed. I would
she had
also
great villains.
That, Jen has been so successful as a character that when was it the early 2010s or the mid 2010s when they gave her finally a true hulked out form, right? People rejected it, right?
I didn't like it. I was like, I don't want to see this. This isn't
it's not She-Hulk.
Exactly. And so that's how successful the character has been, that when they actually made her a classic Hulk, right? Fam, no, not at all. This is not.
Yeah, that's not what we want.
Yep.
All right, we're up to the top two now. So
All right.
for number 2.
I am introducing our first villain to the list.
There you go. What a great
He
villain.
is so awesome.
And so I have one of my favorite characters is Eric Lensher, Magneto.
Yes.
And I think I love well-written heroes, and I adore well-written villains, right? And I say well-written because villains may they always take them too far, right? And so I'm not a fan of hyper powerful but genetic supremacist, right? Magneto. I am a huge fan when they write him into I am a protector of my people at all costs, right? I've been through it. I lived through it. I've lived through a genocide. I've experienced it firsthand. I see what's happening in the world. I will not sit by and let my second race of people be exterminated, right? Yep. And through that lens, I can never paint him. People say a villain, but is he a villain? Right. And some people say yes. I would say no, right? He's doing what's necessary to protect his people at all costs in a world that wants to destroy them. And he's willing to do whatever that takes because I will not watch it again. Right. It's beautiful. It's amazing. The character I feel like as the years have gone on and they've got a better grip on that, the writing just becomes it's got more poignant and more better. The scene he has in the Krakoa era when he's sitting at the table with the world leaders eating, right, and telling him about how they're not even going to fight. They're going to pay for this. They're going to take care of this, and we're going to tab you, and we're going to program your children with this, and we're going to do this. And he's dictating to the world, right? And he's just so in character for him. And just I can't say enough about it. Now, power also. As the years have gone on, I love the different concepts of the power. I had to come straight to this image because there's nothing more badass, right? Yeah, I agree, Lizzie. I don't think he's a villain either. I think he's closer to an anti-hero than a villain. Mm-hmm. Even though he has been written as a villain at certain points, I thought that was misaligned. That genetic supremacist, we are above you because we are homo superior, right? A little bit too far. When they bring that back in, clear anti-hero. But the power, this man went to war without a heart in his chest, right? That's just badass. I love him. There it is.
There's a meme that someone posted on the meme group I started on Facebook that kind of sums this up. It said, Venom is an example of a villain who was evolved into a hero because he was popular with readers and writers decided to rehabilitate him. By contrast, Magneto evolved into a hero because every decade since Reagan, it's harder and harder to pretend he's wrong.
Wow.
True.
Insightful.
True.
Insightful.
I just like I talked about how it was integral to my version of the Punisher that I love for him to be a Vietnam vet. To me, it's integral that Magneto is a concentration camp survivor.
Absolutely.
I think that, and when they introduced that concept, it changed who this character was.
It really did.
It was brilliant to make him a Holocaust survivor.
Yes.
Now he's not a villain; he is a freedom fighter, is
Yeah.
what he is, and he is someone that is sticking up for his people. And like Tone was very eloquent when he said, "I've seen one race almost get exterminated. I will not let this race, my race of mutants, be exterminated." So he is a freedom fighter, and I think that makes him powerful. And I love the conflict between his dream and Xavier's dream.
Yeah,
I love that conflict.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
the way they did his character in that first X-Men movie, that opening scene when it's in the concentration camp,
Brilliant.
and then the first interaction on screen between him and Xavier, and Xavier saying, we have to do this, and then we have to let them, make them see, or however he says it, and he's like, "I will, Charles," and and I think later on when they just kind of showed a glancing thing at his wrist, and you saw his number tattooed on his wrist there, like, it was really great the way that they did him in that.
Absolutely.
Every great and well-written, compelling villain doesn't know they're a villain. And sometimes we can see the point in their villainy, and we can understand why they're coming at the situation they're coming at it from. It's all about perspective. Well, bad guys don't always see themselves as bad guys. And he actually evolved into a good guy, because you're right, that quote was right. Things are really not changing.
Yeah.
And it looks like they may be coming full circle again.
There you go. That's a scary thought, but yeah, you're right.
Well, look at the and some of the more modern exchanges they had right after this scene. Not this, about an hour after this. It was the hour of Magneto in this particular scene, panel that you see on screen. But after this, he dies, and his last words to Storm as he dies are to watch Charles, right? Watch my best friend, right?
Yeah.
Because he's so hopeful, right? He will always do what's necessary to prove to them that we are good, and they will wipe us out for it, right? And so the X-Men themselves gradually coming to understand Eric's mind, right? Yeah. To a point, or Eric sharing across this time where the years of fighting the X-Men were to support Charles's dream. I gave him the villain his dream needed, because the good mutants show up to stop the bad mutants, right? And so
he became the teacher of the X-Men for a while.
Yep,
exactly. He's out doing this in the world, in his mind, so Charles's school can live in peace, because they're focused on me and my mutant brotherhood of criminals. They're not focused on you and the students who get to learn. I just love everything that they did.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
He's so good. He's a great character.
Absolutely.
One of the best.
We're gonna go ahead and keep it in the X-Men universe. Shocker. With Gary's number 2 pick.
We're skipping Chris again. Well, let's go with mine.
Yeah.
No, let's go. All right. Here we go. Cam.
Oh yeah. Sam.
I'm gonna preach now. About Sam Guthrie. Sam Guthrie, Marvel, what the hell are you doing? This is the next great leader of the X-Men. He was put in that position, and you have fallen asleep at the switch. Oh my God. He starts out, he's one of the leaders. I mean, he was with, the Hellfire Club, one of their little minions there for a while, and he saw the error of his ways. First, to go back even further, he had the tragedy where his father was a coal miner and died in Kentucky. It died in the mine, and he's got all these siblings he's got to be responsible for. So he's got this tremendous responsibility. He makes a bad choice and joins, with the wrong people. But
before that, He saved the guy from
fellow
the,
miners.
from the
That's
mine
right.
collapsing. Yeah.
He sure did. So he's heroic. He's got these powers, and Xavier accepts him and becomes one of the leaders, co-leaders of the New Mutants with Danny Moonstar. He is a leader. He wasn't a natural leader, but he learned how to be one, and he learned under Xavier's tutelage. Became a great leader. Magneto takes over the school. So now he's learning under Magneto. So he's learned under Xavier. He's learned under Magneto. Then after Magneto leaves, he learns under Cable. He is Cable's field general. He leads the team when Cable's not there in the field. He is Cable's field leader. Cable leaves the team. Sam is leading X-Force. All these other you've got Warpath, you've got Siren, you've got Sunspot for a while. You've got these other great characters in the team he was leading, and they all look to him for guidance, and he is a great with it, and he is a great leader. The X-Force that was written by, gosh, I can't remember who it was written by now, but it was great. He had the goatee. Oh, Pete Wisdom was a part of that team for a while. They had interactions with, but Sam led that team beautifully. And when going back years before that, when he's rebelling against Xavier and he's trying to fight for his team in one of the big X events, and pretty much his team is under quarantine because they're not trusted, and Sam is allowed to go in the field as their leader and do things with the X-Men, but he fights for his team's release from the house arrest, and he comes in, and he tells Xavier that sometimes you have to lead with a closed fist, but it is not just to hit with, that it can be used to protect, and he shows it by, in his fist, he opens it up and he's protecting a little, I think it was a little mouse.
Remember, it was a field mouse. Remember, it looked like he was going to punch Xavier, and then he stopped short.
Right.
And
he said it's not just used for force, it's used to protect. And Sam right there stood up to Xavier. I mean, the balls it took to stand up to Xavier when he's still a kid, and to tell him, this is what I've learned. I've learned from you. I've learned from Magneto. I've learned from Cable. And then for a while, Cyclops kind of understood what a leader he was. And one of the greatest single issues I've ever read, I believe it was X-Force 43 or 44, when he was the first New Mutant promoted to the X-Men.
Yes.
Oh, I mean, Stone, that'd get all the feels, right?
Yep.
And he felt his dad's presence, and it was like he had been promoted to the big leagues, and they accepted him. And what a great feeling in X-Force, when Cable tells him he's not a part of the team anymore, it breaks his heart. He goes, I've been here from the beginning. What do you mean I'm not part of the team? And then he finds out, son, you've been called up. And oh my God, what a great issue. For a while, Wolverine takes him under his wing and mentors him. So Sam Guthrie, who has learned from all the best, should be, God, there was
he learned under Cap for a while.
Yes, right, because he was with the U.S. Avengers for a while. Cyclops had him go into hell to pull some of the X-Men. Pull Magic back, I believe.
Yeah.
But to go into hell to get her, and he assembled a team to go do it. And I believe
ballsy, ain't it?
Yes. And I believe it was during the Age of X storyline that was set in the future, or kind of an alternate world. Sam was the field general for all of the mutants. I believe Cyclops was in Xavier's place, but Sam was the field leader, and all of the mutants listened to his guidance, and that's where Sam was at his most prominent. But for whatever reason, Marvel has dropped the ball with this character and has not given him his due where he should be, because he had the guidance of all these great characters, and he's got the heart. I know briefly we talked about with Gladiator. Sam beat his ass.
Yep.
Sam beat his ass when Sam was still a kid with doubts and all, and Gladiator was lording over, and Sam was like, I'm not taking that anymore. And Gladiator gave him his mightiest punch, and Sam threw his force field up and absorbed it. and Gladiator's confidence was shook, and Sam cleaned his clock.
That's awesome.
And what I loved about that particular scene is at the moment the punch is coming in, Sam hasn't conceptualized. It's on the fly. Like,
yes,
show the adaptability of Sam Guthrie, right?
Yep.
He has never used his kinetic field to absorb energy at this moment, and he does it. Like, maybe I can do this. Maybe let me try this, and it works.
That's
and then
awesome.
he doesn't just use it to absorb it. Then he uses it to lay the boom down on Gladiator, right?
Yes.
And to me, that was the final kind of click. He's learned from everybody, right?
Yes.
At this point, he's learned from Xavier, learned from freaking Cable. He's learned Magneto. He's learned from Cable. He's been running around with Wolverine, right? Now he's been promoted to the X-Men, and now he's using to adapt and to learn use his power on the fly. This guy's going to be goated. And fast forward a decade later,
and he's another great New Mutant character whose story arc we've watched from the beginning, because he came out in the 80s, and it's just been fascinating to watch. He's a great character. His arc has been fantastic.
He grew from a gawky kid,
a guy who couldn't turn,
right, to this full-fledged character. And let's not forget, when Storm was leading the Extreme X-Men, she picked him for her team. Yeah. And he learned from Storm too.
And he was a kind, quiet kid, not horribly outspoken, kind of shy, and he's become this incredible leader. Also
a character of faith and great hope. There's a great hope in him and a great goodness in him.
Yeah.
And again, just protecting that little mouse.
Good at heart.
And Marvel, again, I just think they have dropped the ball with this character, and they need to reinsert him as the leadership.
That's what she said.
There you go. The leadership that they were leading him to. And what more does he need on his resume? What more does Sam Guthrie?
Yeah, I know.
Part of the Imperial
it's
Guard.
like I've traveled with every super group. Why can't I play guitar for this group?
And that's right. With his wife now, he's been a part of the Imperial Guard too. This guy has got all the creds you need. And hopefully one day Marvel, somebody writing the X books, will wake up and realize that Sam Guthrie is a character that you are not utilizing.
Yeah.
You built him into this great leadership potential where he's been, and it's not like let's let him try it. He's been a leader.
Yeah,
he's been a leader since day one.
He's a natural progression to lead the X-Men.
Yes.
I felt like when Marvel put X-Force completely, and they were just kind of on their own. They had an amazing lineup, right? They had Richter there. They had Siren there. They had Warpath there, right? They had Boom Boom there, right? Tabitha. So I felt like
Shatterstar, right? Pharaoh.
Pharaoh. Pharaoh, I think Pharaoh was gone by that time in that run, but I felt like Marvel had created its team, its Titans, not Teen Titans. They created Titans.
I agree.
And we've got our Titans of the X-Men. They had Gen X going, and now we've got this great X-Force going. So, this is the Titans. It's mind-blowing to me that fast forward, like I say, a decade, 15 years later, they've all been shelved individually. Yeah. None of them are being written, right? And instead of looking at the quality of the characters that you invested 15 years into developing, you just keep creating New Mutants, right? And so instead of peppering the landscape with New Mutants, pun not intended there, go back and invest in what you've already created and spent time in. And so instead of having, and this brings me back to writing fundamentally. It seems to me like many of the X-Men writers in modern sense, when they come in post Claremont, have their select few X-Men that they want to write on.
Yep.
Whoever their favorites are, they drag them together, and the rest of the X community gets shelved, right? And if you're not part of that routine group, that people are always going to love Logan, and people are always going to love Nightcrawler, and people are always going to want Iceman around it, and some people are going to want Beast around. And if you're not part of that kind of top 8 X-Men that are popular, right? If you get tagged up, you're kind of brought in on the peripheries of these groups, or you're shelved entirely. And I feel like that's what's happened to that entire X-Force crew. They all got shelved. Once it got to 1998, right? Throw them on the shelf, and Sam has suffered greatly. I feel like as much as I love Bobby as a character, I feel like Sam suffers more, right?
I agree.
And it's a shame because the Mansion's a big place, and there's no reason they can't have a team like the Legion.
Yeah.
You know, whether they had like 24 characters at one point, maybe
Right.
even more on the team. And you can explore the different characters throughout, you know, different arcs, but make small appearances throughout, you know, your main arcs. There's no reason they can't do that, but maybe it's beyond them.
It's going to take a writer that loves this character to resurrect him, is what it's.
He's fantastic.
I think he's a great character too. So that's my soapbox. Thanks for helping me preach.
Amen, brother.
I mistakenly skipped him again. We're going to go back to Chris for his number 2.
You're always
There you
looking for
go.
my number 2. There he is. Yeah.
In the face.
Punch him again.
Yeah.
Punch him for me. Hit him with that shield.
There you go.
I love the classic shield too. I love the classic.
Yeah. I mean, I picked this image because I'm a big fan of World War II books, especially when Hitler's on the cover getting punched in the face. It just
Who doesn't love that?
fancy.
Yeah.
And this is beautifully done by Ross. Cap is an amazing character. He's withstood the test of time. And, you know, what more can we say about him? An incredible leader. And, you know, if I had a team of heroes, he's the guy I would want leading them. I mean, he is a hell of a field marshal. He knows what he's doing when it comes to fighting. And he used to, you know, during the war, I'm sure he killed, and I know he had. I know he killed quite a few people, and he was able to successfully turn that off in his quest for justice back in the States, which is probably pretty difficult for a lot of soldiers to do, but he managed to pull it off.
I gotta admit, my favorite Cap moment though was in the Ultimates, the original Ultimates run, when he's fighting the German super soldier who's telling him to give up. And he chops him in half with the shield and says, "You think this A on my head stands for France, right?"
Yeah.
Yeah. I know it's Ultimate Universe, Cap.
Yeah.
And not
That's still awesome, man. That is awesome.
That scene right there, like
that is cool.
That's not what
the ultimate one too is when he found out what, you know, that Hank was abusing Wasp, and he just went and was telling him like grow, and just beat the shit out of him.
Yeah.
I also remember Hulk had a problem with Freddie Prinze.
Yeah. and when Cap jumped out of, and they use this in the movie when he jumped out of the plane, and one of the soldiers goes, "Did he have a parachute on?" And Bucky, who was a reporter there, was like, "No, he doesn't use them."
Yeah. But I love that take on Cap particularly because he was a soldier,
yes,
right? And he was also general of the armies, as he uses the armed forces when he fights. I thought that was just a cool concept. So you're not just fighting the man, you're fighting the U.S. military when you are fighting Captain America.
That's right.
Yeah. You know, in those early stories, you know, he was always behind the lines with Bucky, and you know, I don't know what he was doing with Bucky. It's probably unspeakable.
No, don't say that. Stop.
No.
Don't take it there.
Yeah.
He's another teen sidekick.
We're gonna go.
They're all gonna get together and write a book. You know,
gonna go to.
It's gonna be like Mommy Dearest.
I'm gonna go with my number 2 pick, who we've already talked about him a lot, so I don't think we have to say a whole lot more. But my
there you go,
Frank Castle.
That's a Brubaker, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Or Bradstreet?
No, that's
Bradstreet.
Bradstreet.
Yeah, that was the cover to issue 1 of that 12-issue series when Ennis started writing them.
That's gorgeous.
Frank.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, just huge fan of the Punisher.
Yeah.
I've said it many times. I used to have a really nice copy of his first appearance, sold it before the price of comics blew up to what they are now. And yeah, don't do that. Don't put him in the file.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. No,
Oh my God.
I would not do that. He's not from the Epstein class. No, sir. He doesn't have that kind of money.
No.
He doesn't have that kind of money. He's just a regular Joe.
But yeah, the Punisher is the guy we need to to just hand him the files and say, Frank, go do what you do.
Go take care of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I loved this run particularly because he was more human. He wasn't running around in the big costume.
Yeah.
It's
he was more tactical, more streamlined.
Yeah, because he's not a guy that's going to run around with white gloves and white boots and all this. It's going to be It's going to be the shirt with the white skull, and everything else black. So when you're walking out of the shadows, and the only thing that the criminal is going to see is that skull coming towards him, it's going to scare the shit out of him.
Absolutely.
It's also a great target.
Yes.
To keep from getting shot in the face.
Yep.
You get shot in the Kevlar instead.
So yeah, great character. I've been a huge fan for a long time. So issue 1 of his new book came out this week. I'm very excited to read it.
Did they bring back Frank in this one? Because
they brought him back. They've had.
Is he Frankencastle?
No.
Damn.
They've had 2 miniseries going recently. They had the Red Band series, which just ended, that leads into this, and then they have a Punisher Daredevil crossover book that takes place in around the time of Welcome Back, Frank. So
that's been good.
Yeah, both of them been good, and they're pushing to, hey, we're getting away from him being a demon that is, bringing back his dead wife and running a ninja clan. We're putting him back as the Punisher.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, we knew that would happen, so that's good.
Now, I will also say that as much as I found it interesting, didn't fit the character, right? But that's the beauty of comics. You change things, you see it doesn't work, you put it back. You change things, you see it works, you integrate it, right?
I thought it was interesting too, and I thought that was the goal the whole time. He wasn't going to be changed to that permanently. It was just just a different arc of a Punisher story they were telling.
Well, I hated. It wasn't as much that part. I hated the way that they changed his past, where they made him like, oh, he's been a killer since he was a little kid, and oh, he didn't really care about his wife, and he didn't really care about his kids, and
that didn't sit well with me.
I agree with that.
And he just used, Chris just keeps dropping it, but it was the he didn't really care about him. He just used that
shitternet
for this.
Shitternet.
I absolutely hated them doing that with him, because it takes away from the real motivation of the character. Like, yeah, the guy was a soldier. He saw some shit in Vietnam. Yeah, he might have had this darkness in him, but to say that he never really cared about his wife and kids, I just that part of the story
that takes away from. I mean, that's like Uncle Ben not dying.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that.
Bringing Uncle Ben back,
or it would be like Peter not really
caring for the character.
It would be like Peter not really caring that Uncle Ben died. Just be like, oh well,
he wouldn't be a hero.
That's right.
So we are up to number 1.
That's like Bruce Wayne's parents not dying.
Yeah. So Tone, for your number 1,
my number
recent and future star of Marvel.
Wow! Look at that.
That
is an awesome image.
That is cool.
I could not put anyone other than Dr. Victor Von Doom, Dr. Doom, as my number 1. He's been my favorite Marvel character since I was young, 7, 8 years old. I told you I was raised reading Fantastic Four, right? And and so I love so there's never any way I could say that
Yeah, Liz.
Victor is not a villain.
I love The Witch too, Liz. Yep.
Yes, me
Yep.
too.
Agreed.
Yep.
At the same time, Victor really is the pinnacle of humanity. And I keep talking about restraint to great characters, right? And his only restraint are two things: his own arrogance, A, and then B, his fixation on beating Reed and proving himself over Reed. And if it weren't for those two things, he would be the leader of the world, right? You're talking about a character that is just as intelligent, super genius in high science as Reed Richards, just as good at magic as Doctor Strange, just as much as a technological futurist as Tony Stark, also a king like T'Challa, right?
Yeah.
Prepares for every eventuality like T'Challa, right? Who is designated as worthy by Bath.
Liz, I can't believe you're hanging in here too.
Right?
Well, we're down to the final choices.
These are great points, Tone. You are absolutely right on all these.
And so here's this guy who does this, who has all these things, and his only thing that stops him is his own personal failing and his arrogance, right?
It's vanity too.
His vanity and his arrogance.
Yeah.
And so, and then if you look at it, he has some of the most amazing moments in Marvel.
He's a narcissist.
Let's talk about the moment of him nuking after he jacks the Beyonder's powers in the original Secret Wars. Let's talk about him then nuking the heroes, right? That moment when boom, heroes done, and the issue of the next issue is him holding up the glass, the chalice, right? And victory of the Secret Wars. Or we can come to the fact that the arrogance to help Sue have a baby and then name the baby after you, right? After your country, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could talk about the end of When Time Runs Out before the 2015 Secret Wars, where he confronts the Beyonders. That entire stretch of dialogue, right?
Thanks, Liz.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Just when he confronts the Beyonders and tells a race of gods, right? The last thing you're going to hear is doom, right? I've taken what you had and made it mine. I've destroyed worlds just to mock you, right?
Yeah.
It's just this amazing dialogue with a well-written Victor. In his own series, when he nullifies an entire universe, right? He didn't just destroy this universe.
Yeah, boosh.
He nullified it so it never existed, because the version of him in that universe worked with Reed Richards, right? And called his armor ridiculous, right? I love Victor Von Doom in every which way. I love, again, amazing potential restrained by human failing, right? And that's where it is. In this image, it's just the man's riding a bear, right? What more can you say?
Yeah.
Victor Von Doom, my number one, hands down.
I love Doom. You know, I always, and somebody wrote, one of the Doom stories was written, you know, he's supposedly horribly scarred behind the mask. I love the version that somebody wrote that he's not horribly scarred. He just has one little nick, and his vanity is such that his face was perfect, and he's got this one little scar, and it's enough to make him put the mask on to hide his face because he's no longer perfect. I love that version of his vanity is so great he would do that.
Yeah, that's what Kirby originally envisioned for him.
Yeah.
He's kind of like Lex Luthor, where it's like, hey, if you actually really cared about other people, you'd be the greatest hero in the world.
Yeah.
And like every villain, I said, just like I said with Magneto, sometimes they go too far, right? And you have about a decade, especially when the Fantastic Four book wasn't being written, when Marvel stopped writing it, and Doom kind of becomes a plot point in other people's books, right? And that's when they really take him into the and dolt era, where he's just kind of a joke whenever he shows up. and I don't like when when the character is diminished in that way. But definitely started in the early 2000s, kind of in the mid 2000s, they started bringing them back to be prominent, right, and impactful. Then when they launched into When Time Runs Out, and you find out he's been jumping the multiverse, when Reed Richards and the collective brain trust of the Illuminati are focused on the incursions and defeating the Earth, he's doing his own thing with the Mad Thinker, figuring out what's actually driving the incursions, right? So he's already thinking a level above the heroes. I just love him. I'll talk about him all night. So
Dude,
he's just he's the villain that's been there, since I was a kid. I've always loved him as a villain. Those Fantastic Four books were also those collected books I read in the library, and Doom was the big baddie, and I loved him. Again, another villain that doesn't really know he's the villain.
yeah, very
You
much.
know?
Oh, and let's not forget, in his mind, right, he's saving the world by trying to run it, because he's seen all of these possible
Yep.
futures, and the only
Right.
one the Earth survived is the one that he ran the Earth.
Yep.
So in his mind, it's all okay because it's the only way we all survive.
Yeah, and he'll do it by any means necessary.
Yes.
And his people, though, in his country, I love it when they write it that they love him.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's like there's
Fantastic.
there's no crime, there's no poverty, there's no want. We live good lives.
There's no
That's
hunger.
awesome.
I loved when if you read the When Time Runs Out, so Namor falls out with the Illuminati that he's with, trying to stop these incursions. And Namor goes out and creates his own group, right, of villains, if you will, to address these incursions, to destroy these Earths that are collapsing into our Earths. And they're called the Cabal. Thanos, I can't remember the whole collection of the Cabal, but and
Loki, red or not red, The Hood, I think, was on it.
yeah, maybe.
For all of them.
But and that begins to trying to manage the bloodshed of this group, as they don't just destroy Earth like the Illuminati do, that's collapsing into ours. They actually go to the planet and murder everybody before they destroy it, because they revel in the bloodshed. And it starts to wear on Namor. And so Namor goes to Doom for help, right? And explains the whole situation to Doom. And Doom and Doom tells him, right, the language, like, he's like, I need your help, Victor. We've been friends for a long time. And Victor's like, and I am, you went to Richards, you went to everyone else before you came to me. I am no man's second choice, right? It says, so yeah, you need help, and you've screwed this up, and this could be bad, but don't drag the stinking carcass of your failure to my door. No, thank you. I won't help you. And he walks away. Victor Von Doom is that dude. Love it.
Badass.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, Boosh. Exactly.
All right. So for Chris, for your number one, and no, it's you got him on your skin. It's no surprise that you picked him.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. That's my boy. I love Logan. He's just awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Where is he?
There he is. Yeah.
It's that ink.
Just had that recolored recently. But yeah, I've loved him since I was a kid. When I first started reading the X-Men, he was just so fascinating to me. Yeah, it just and he's grown so much since the very beginning.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, so has his healing factor. So now he's practically immortal.
Yeah.
But it used to be you could you could slit his throat and he would probably bleed out.
Right.
It used to be that he would recover, but you could deal him enough catastrophic damage that you could kill him.
Yeah.
And if you hurt him enough, you would actually sideline him, for some time while he healed. Yeah. Now it's just, blow him up, shoot him, stab him.
Yeah,
whatever.
it's gotten ridiculous.
Yeah.
I remember when they actually they made that turn, and it was the emergence of Bone Claw Wolverine. And immediately after the Bone Claw Wolverine, he pops the claws. That's one issue, ends the issue. And a couple of issues later, they want to put him through his paces. He gets out of the building, he goes running, he gets run over by a car, and they've got him hooked up to sensors, so they know what's going on with him. He gets crushed by this car, and like in 3 or 4 seconds, he's back up running full speed. And they're like, "Oh, we never knew his healing factor was this fast. It was just being weighted down by his adamantium, right?" And that's the first time they introduced this accelerated healing at an insane pace, and I think it just got
it's gotten worse. Yeah.
Right.
Well, they should have kept it like that, and then when he got the adamantium back, put it back to where it was.
Yeah.
The whole idea was the healing factors working overtime to keep the metal
Right.
from killing.
Yep.
Then you had the infamous, I think it was in Civil War, Nitro. He went after Nitro. Nitro blew him up. There was like a little spot of blood left in his adamantium skull, and he re-healed from that in a minute or so.
Yeah, that's just stupid.
That's some Lobo stuff.
And when I was a kid, he was such a badass. You know, he was always doing awesome shit. You know, he would have Colossus throw him in. He'd do a fastball special. He'd throw him into shit. You know, he was always being launched through Sentinels. I mean, he was just awesome. Yeah, you just slicing Hellfire Club members up and slice them into ribbons.
Yep.
He was the best X-Men. I mean, his popularity grew quickly.
It did.
It really did.
That's a great pick for number one.
Love
We're going to go to Gary for his number one pick.
Another oddball. There he is, Doiby Dickless. I didn't think we'd get there, but we're here. He's the greatest sidekick ever in the history of sidekicks.
Here's Gary's real number one pick.
Doiby Dick is throwing a wrench into things.
There'll be no surprise to anyone that's watched this before.
Yeah.
Simon Williams, Wonder Man, baby.
What a great character.
I love Simon Williams. Again,
an underrated character as well.
Sure he is. And I love another redemptive arc where Simon, you know, he goes to jail. Zemo gives him the formula that he, you know, he's going to make him superhuman, and he's going to come back and get his revenge on Iron Man. And he defeats the Avengers. You know, he sucker punches Thor, knocks him out. And then he realizes that Zemo's going to kill them. And that's where he says, you know what? I didn't sign on for that. And he betrays Zemo, and he pays the price because Zemo has an antidote to the powers that he's given him come with a price. And without that antidote, he dies. But, you know, it had been retconned years later that he becomes an ionic creature and that he cannot die. Energy doesn't die. It can dissipate and then reform, but it doesn't die. And so he is reawakened. And when he reawakens, he has these doubts. You know, he's died. He doesn't want to die again. So he's got these fears, and he's got to overcome these fears. And the Avengers accept him back again into their fold. And it's just, I think that's what I loved when it was early on when I first started reading the Avengers. He was resurrected right then. I think my first Avengers issue was 151 or 152. And that was Wonder Man coming back. So
that's awesome.
That influenced me as a kid, and I've always loved this character. He's my favorite Marvel character, and I guess I loved the doubts he had, but he still was courageous. And then, even though he knew he could die again, he always charged into battle and gave it his best. And he's been killed like 5 or 6 times. He blows up really good, but
Force works.
Yeah, but he comes back. The energy can be brought back, and I love his relationship with the Scarlet Witch, and it makes perfect sense that he would be attracted to her like the Vision is, because the Vision they used Wonder Man's brain patterns as a template for the Vision's persona, so of course they'd be attracted to the same woman. So I think that is a really cool aspect of them, that the fact that they consider themselves Earthstaz brothers for a while, and then you throw the Grim Reaper in there, and you've got this really awesome family dynamic. And
it's fantastic.
Yeah, I just think Simon Williams is just an absolutely great character, and one of the strongest characters in the Marvel Pantheon.
Oh yeah,
he's in the 100-ton club, right? Which is a level up of even Ben Grimm. It's him, it's Hulk, it's Thor, it's Sentry. I mean, that's some pretty.
Now, according to the Marvel game back in the 80s that I played, Ben Grimm and Wonder Man were in the 75-ton club, but they've increased quite a bit since then.
Yeah, well, I think
they've been taking creatine.
Yeah, exactly. He had for his acting career, had building guns up, but I think it was in the Marvel, the handbook to the Marvel universe. I think that's when they first introduced him as at 100 tons.
Yeah.
So, but he's a powerhouse and one of the greatest Avengers.
That looks like a Chippendales lineup.
It does. I just put it there because he had such a vast array of costumes.
It's great. Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Now, I'm very aware of the second costume because it was big in the 80s. Why does that look like Jim Sternanko to me?
Oh, it probably was based on him. I know the Marlon Perkins safari jacket. And Steranko wears the turtleneck.
Yeah, Steranko.
And does all that. So I do believe that part of that might have been based on Steranko.
I'll be darned. Yep. I just realized that looking at him.
Yep, exactly. So
that's really cool. I love his costumes.
Don't forget back in the 90s, he was in the future in Guardians of the Galaxy too.
He was Hollywood.
Awesome.
Yep. He was Hollywood. That's right. And he's basically immortal.
Yeah, I mean he's
awesome.
Energy.
Yep. That's right. So
yeah, he's a great character, very compelling character.
I love Wonder Man. There you go.
And his friendship with the Beast is legendary.
Absolutely.
100%.
So to close it out with our final pick, my number one pick. I don't think this will be a surprise.
No surprise. There you go.
Yeah, the Sentinel of Liberty himself.
Yeah.
I don't remember where I got this poster, but I had this poster hanging on my wall as a kid. I've always been a huge Captain America fan. Like
That's
I said,
beautiful.
Joe Jesco.
Yeah, his first appearance, he's punching Hitler in the face on the cover. Just you gotta love that. And he is, he's a good man first and foremost. Between any of that, he's a good person. He's a great leader. He's a great strategist, and no matter who happens to be leading the Avengers or any team, whenever there's like the big, massive, the shit's going down in the Marvel universe, the Infinity Gauntlet stuff, and we gotta have someone to lead all of the characters. They all look to Cap.
Yes, they do.
Mutants, gods, immortals, superpowered people, non-superpowered people. Rich, poor, they look to Cap to lead them. And there was a thing when
he's a light.
What?
He's a light.
Yeah, and there
was a symbol of hope.
Yeah, and there was a thing when
they
were doing something with the X-Men, and I forget what the storyline was a couple years ago where they were all fighting. It was Empire, I think, and Cap was one of the people that got killed, and they were, resurrecting characters, and they're like, all right, we got to resurrect someone to lead us, like, Cyclops, and someone else said, no, it's got to be Cap, and they're like, no, for our people, because Cyclops is the beacon, this, and they were, and I forget who it was that was saying, it was like, no, this is about more than us, like, we need Cap. Cap is the one that has to, and they use their resurrection protocols to bring him back. Wow. Yeah, you're right, Liz. No surprise. I mean,
no surprise.
Apparently, he's hung like a bull, according to this picture.
That's the super soldier serum up for you.
That's
right?
What exactly.
Oh, all right, him and Daredevil could have.
You're soaking fight. In it.
Bring that Daredevil back. They could have a sword fight.
That man looks like Attitude Era Triple H right now. Right?
Yeah, he does, doesn't he? That's a beast.
Man.
So that is our list. Thank you for everyone for sticking with us in the chat.
Liz, can't believe
everyone.
Liz made it. Woo.
Just
Thank
a
you.
great time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank
And
you,
it was
everyone.
great meeting you, Tone. Great meeting you, brother.
Thank
It's
you,
just
everyone,
awesome.
Also,
for giving us your list in the chat as well. It was great to see everybody's picks. It's interesting to see how many characters overlapped between some of our lists and the readers' lists, or the viewers' lists, and how many characters we had individually. I mean, there was only one character that was on everybody's list.
Spider-Man.
So,
Yep.
Bye.
it kind of
Good
shows
old
how you're
Spidey.
going to have a top 10 character list for Marvel and not have Spidey on there somewhere. Thank you. Thank you, Booze.
Thanks, Boosh.
Boosh.
Thank you to Tone for coming
Thank
on
you.
and
Yep.
dealing with our nonsense yet again. As
Happy to
always, you are free to come on and encouraged to come on whenever you want. We love
Please
having
do.
you on and talk with you.
Say thank you. Thank
Absolutely.
It's nice to
That's
have
an
someone
honor.
with such comic book knowledge.
That's right.
you. Say,
Absolutely.
I'm with Giants right now. That's you.
Oh,
guys.
Catone, you had great insights, great points. I mean, to describe the Silver Surfer as romantic,
Yes.
I never would have thought of that. But
Get on.
damn, it's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bullseye.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right. So let's go ahead and end this before we hit the 4-hour mark.
See you later,
Yep.
Booge.
I'm Dan. Over here is Chris. Down there is The Tone and the Ric Flair of Comics, Uncle Gary. Me and Chris and Gary will be back Saturday night at 11 Eastern Standard Time for Comics Unleashed. Believe Sal's going to be back on with us.
Wonderful.
Hope
As
so.
said, hope you can all join us. Tone, again, always welcome back whenever you want. And until next time, catch you by the spinner.